Good evening. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of June 20th. There's Cyrus. I'm calling the meeting to order. This meeting of the Hopkinton Select Board is being held both in person and remotely using the video conference platform Zoom. Select Board member Irfan Nasrullah will be participating remotely. I believe that Shahidul Manan may also be participating remotely, and there is some chance that Mary Jo Lafreniere will also join remotely, but we aren't sure if she'll be able to do that. So Amy and I are in person, and Irfan is remote and on the Zoom, so we have a quorum. All of the members, so that's the status on the members. At this time, I will ensure that the Select Board members participating remotely can hear and be heard. Irfan Nasrullah?
Yes.
Do we have Shahidul? No. And do we have Mary Jo? Okay. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in this meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. It is our custom to start with a public forum. Is there anybody here in the meeting room that would like to speak at public comment? Is there anybody on the Zoom that would like to speak at public comment? Do we see anybody?
No hand raised. There are people on it, but no hands.
I don't see any hands.
Chuck Douchy.
Okay, Chuck Douchy, if you can liven him up. Any person that is interested in speaking will have up to 2 minutes to speak. At public forum, please start by stating your name and address. So, Chuck?
He is joining. He's muted, it looks like.
Okay. Is he able to unmute, or? Chuck, we can't hear you if you're trying to speak.
My apologies. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Chuck.
Yep.
Thank you. My name is Chuck Daughtry. I'm 25 Sanctuary Lane, member of the Trails Coordination Management Committee. But I speak now as a citizen, not for the committee. I appreciate that the Select Board wants to get further input, although they've had considerable input from the democratically process of the town meeting. However, a couple of points regarding the draft, or not draft, but now public survey. One minor, what I consider an error, that the environmental notification form will be required. That's in your introduction section. That would be required only if it meets certain thresholds, and the project element that would push that threshold is a paved trail. Otherwise, it would not necessarily meet the threshold. But that is not really relevant to the questionnaire. So I'm not sure it needed to be required, but it's there, and I wanted to note that correction. The other is that you mentioned that physical attributes of the trail will be considered by whatever future committee there is. However, the questionnaire went on to ask last aspects of the trail. And I'm not sure that there is enough subtlety in those questions to really give the board a helpful answer.
Okay.
I await with interest the responses. Thank you for considering my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it. Anybody else with a hand raised? I do have two things that I neglected to put on the agenda, so I would like to make a public comment. Amy and I attended the Timlin race. It was the 20th race in town. It's an amazing event to raise money and awareness in the fight against ALS. They have been doing it for 20 years. They have raised over $2 million, and bless them, they gave us a proclamation when in fact we should be giving them a proclamation. But they recognized how much they appreciate the support of the town, and it's signed by Mike Timlin and Abby Rosenberg, the founder. So I wanted to bring that and share it, and also congratulate them on for an amazing community event that people love, for such a great cause, and for the durability and the success of that event. And then the other thing, each year now that we've walked in the Pride Parade, we talk about getting a banner, but we don't remember to do that. So this is late for this year's Pride Parade, but I did get one that we can hopefully, if everybody likes, we can have in June in subsequent years.
You want to hold it?
Yeah, that'd be great, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on, this way, I think, yeah. So it says Proud Allies and Hockenton Select Board on the side.
No, I can't see.
Anyway, so now we have a banner, and we could actually maybe put it up for the month of June when we're meeting, but,
Oh, sure.
you know, if we want to, so. So that's public comment from
Very nice.
me. Thank you. My kids helped me design it, so. All right. Our next order of business, I think we're a tiny bit ahead of schedule, but I don't think that's a problem, are the water and sewer rates. So first, we'll start with staff report.
Please. 1 second.
I know nobody is accustomed to being a couple minutes early, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, Liz is joining through the chair as we are getting ready to hear the presentation and staff recommendation. May be helpful for me to walk the community and the board through the process. This is an annual process that the board embarks on with a view towards establishing the water and sewer rates for the upcoming fiscal year. The process entails the town working with a consultant to go through all the variables that impact the cost of providing water to the town residents. Following that exercise, we then have an internal conversation and identify the best way of presenting the information to the community through the select board. And over the years, we have established the practice of having an informal meeting ahead of the public meeting that sets the rates. This year, that public meeting occurred 2 weeks ago. The other process-related question that may not be immediately apparent to the public is that the majority of the calculations that go into setting the rate for the coming fiscal year are already determined by the water and sewer budget that is approved at town meeting in May. And so the purpose of setting the rates in June is to make sure that the town has sufficient funds to fund the budget for water and sewer that is set up at town meeting. And so, with that in point, with the chair's approval, I'll ask that Liz walks us through the recommendation. I should also identify Eric Cutty. Normally doesn't show up on our local TV, does show up on Channel 5, is here tonight to walk us through any questions that may pertain to the actual projects moving forward next year.
That's great. Before we start through the chair, so what I understood, and for everyone's clarification too, is that the budget that we have would require the rates at this recommendation level to provide the proper funding.
Correct.
Yeah, so I have a question too about just the timing. Do we do it after the budget on purpose, or would it make sense to think about it in terms of doing it before the budget process?
Very good question. We've discussed this issue for many years at staff level. Apparently, what we follow is the pattern that has been set over the years. There may be challenges holding the hearing ahead of town meeting approving the budget.
Yeah.
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 And I wonder if there's some value in that preliminary hearing, at least, to introduce what is being contemplated for the. I'll think about that, or we can think about that a little bit. But just so people are more informed at town meeting, because maybe they don't understand that at town meeting. I don't think I understood that at town meeting, but that's for another day, for another year.
Yeah.
Another year. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. So, can you talk a little into the mic, please? Good evening. Thank you for having us. Is that better? Clearer?
Yes.
Okay. As discussed 2 weeks ago, we have been reviewing the water and sewer rates to line up with the water and sewer enterprise operating budgets that were approved May 1st at our annual town meeting for FY24. We have been reviewing with our consultants over several months the proposed budgets that we have been working on for FY24. We do this annually. We look ahead 5 years, and we do an abundance of analysis of, we'll start with the Water Enterprise Fund per se. We'll look at the annual operating budget, what we expect to spend,
I can't hear. The sound drops.
Oh, thanks for speaking up, Irfan. We can hear you. Hold on one second. Do we know what possibly happened?
Ben is saying so.
You can hear us now. Okay, great. Thanks for speaking up, Irfan.
So we take the water and sewer regular operating budgets, our annual enterprise operating budgets. We look at what, personnel costs will be according to CBA agreements and regular, non-CBA agreements just for, regular employees. Then we look at the operating expenses that Eric brings forward, whether it's, just Eversource per se. We budget that out. We see what those costs will be. And then we look at the bigger capital projects, and we look at those for 5 years. And Eric, sits down with us, and we go through them, and we look at the expenses. For water, there was only one approved at FY24's town meeting, and it was $285,000 for a dump truck, and that was funded by water retained earnings. Certified retained earnings as of July 1st for FY23 for water retained earnings was $590,000, which was significantly down from the prior July 1st. Sewer retained earnings was $1,600,000 66. These are just, I'm rounding the numbers, but that's in the range. So we look at what we have for retained earnings, what we have for available fundings, what we can fund, for capital projects, and what the long-range plan is. And we all know that we've been discussing as a community the MWRA project, and that's coming down the road. So that plays a big role in our 5-year forecast of setting the water rates and where those water rates will go in the coming years. So when you look at our proposed and recommended rates for FY24 for water, you also had seen at the previous meeting 2 weeks ago the different options and how it was laid out and where the MWRA project, starts to come online and where we have to start spending funds for that. And so that is one of the major cost drivers in the water rate. There's no avoiding that. So in the memo that is dated June 14th, you will note that the recommended water rate increase for FY24 is 17.5%. And the recommended sewer rate is a reduction of 5%. I don't know how much further in depth, the memo details out things that I have stated. Some of the things to take into consideration when you look at the tables that are in the memo that is dated June 14th, 2023, and the discussion points of MWRA. There's a lot of unknowns. So we don't know what funding could come available to the town. We plan on using ARPA funds for the project. Not a lot, $4 million. People might say $4 million, well, that's a lot, but the project is huge. So we also don't know what state fundings could come to the town to support the project. Those come as the project starts, unfortunately. They'll come with, it could be a 0%, loan, and that's huge because you're not paying the rising interest costs on loans. So when you see the coming years of 25 and 26 and the large percentage increase, that's what we're, projecting and estimating. But as the project goes on, it may not be that dramatic. So we have to just keep that in mind because there could be different funding availabilities that could come to the town. But I'm not making that as a guarantee. We just have to see it how it comes.
Yeah. So just asking the question then, the 17.5% this year and projected 30% in each of the next 2 years, that is to account for the big MWRA connection as best as we can estimate. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is to start the project, and we can also chime in to the town manager as well as the consultant or Eric at this point. But that is yes. Yeah.
So it's to set the stage for the big projects that are coming. It doesn't necessarily account for the whole projected cost.
No.
Correct.
Correct. But we do know it's going to be a substantial cost, and the town is working really hard to ensure that we get the best, the best opportunity possible. Okay. I also noticed, and maybe this is for you, Eric, or you, Mr. Kamala, we still have the graduated rates for the different levels of usage, which I think is helpful. And then I think I remember seeing that we're also contemplating continuing, and is there an opportunity to add to the small number of ratepayers who qualify for additional assistance?
Correct. We are continuing the tiered system that the town has established over the years. Tonight, we are also asking the board to continue the discount for both water and sewer. As a reminder, town meeting actually did authorize the select board to file special legislation that will allow the continuation of the discount.
Yeah, okay.
If I could, through the chair?
Yes.
Just, the tiered rate is actually required by the DEP. You have to have an increasing tier rate. It's
Okay.
actually a regulation in order
great.
to help conserve water.
Okay. And then, do we have a few more people that qualify to join the assisted rates? Is that what I understood from the,
That was through the treasurer's office.
okay. So it's a small, and what's the total number of folks that would qualify for assistance?
24.
I couldn't find it much.
Sure. So it did increase, I believe, last year it was 18, and
there it is.
it went to 24.
Yep. Okay.
And then that is to do with the circuit breaker, and then our records show in the treasurer's office 37 water users could qualify for discounts under similar criteria used for the sewer discount program as well. That's at the end of the memo.
Yep. So that would be 24 plus 37?
Or one is water, one is sewer, maybe.
Yes, 24 on the sewer side,
24 on the sewer, thank you. Okay.
37
I got it.
on the
Okay.
water side.
I understood it earlier, but, okay, so do any members of the board have questions? I can start with you, Shadu.
Just a quick one. So this includes the estimated 25 million for the MWRA connection and the service charge for those.
You have
Oh,
to speak
sorry.
up a tiny bit, yeah.
Is this okay? Sure. Is this, does this include the 25 million as an estimation for the MWRA connection and the debt service for that? Just to clarify.
So the debt service goes out a long way. So we will be seeing, different increments as the years go on. And, we probably could come up with and do an analysis of future years out to show that debt service schedule, and I think that probably would be useful in some coming meetings when we're more further along with the project. We could come with a proposed debt schedule so you could see that, and then I could factor out the impact on the water rates for the residents. But we're not there yet with that proposed debt schedule. And as I mentioned as well, grants, and if the MWRA is offering any type of loan programs, which they have in the past to communities that are buying into the MWRA program. So we're close, but we're not there yet. So.
No, understood. Then how much of those design costs does this include? Or does it at all? When we go 30% and then I think 30% for 2 consecutive years, right? That includes what?
So we are, we're projecting the annual operating costs, and we're projecting 5-year capital costs, which are included in this rate table that is shown, and MWRA project costs, but not all of the MWRA project costs, because we are not anywhere near
Quantifying that or?
where that would be. So this is only just projecting out the 5-year. And so for FY24, we only had one capital item, and that was funded with retained earnings. But, as we go, move along with the project, we can provide updates for the board.
Sure, that'll be helpful. But again, you may have the number now, or if not, I can follow up afterwards. So this includes only the projected costs that we know in the next few years, not the big item ones of the connection. And the total for that immediate cost is 3 million, 5 million? Do we know that number? If not, we can have it later, that's fine.
We do. I'm assuming Matt is on the line and can answer that question.
He's got his hand raised, yeah.
Yes. In fact, again, the numbers that we're projecting relate to the initial cost of moving the project forward. The question put forth by Select Board Member Shadul Manan is, what is the amount for the MW project in the 2 years that we have projected an increase of 30%?
Correct, yeah.
Do we have Matt?
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. This is Matty Whitney from Wake Hampshire. So I would like to try to answer that question that was just asked a moment ago about the projected cost related to the MWRA. So in our analysis, we had factored in projected debt service related to the MWRA connection. We had it first hitting in FY26, and we have it as a phased approach. So the debt that we have hitting in FY26 is just under $800,000 related to that project, and then we have an additional $800,000-ish hitting in FY27 as well. So if you add those two together, you're somewhere around $1.5 million in additional annual debt service that is not on the books today. And in addition to that, once connected to the MWRA does charge its members. It's called an annual operating. It's not called operating. It's called an annual assessment that they charge for water usage. So once you start drawing water from the MWRA, assuming you do, then they will start assessing the town of Hopkinton annually, starting about a year after you first draw water, and including the analysis. I have projected what I think the assessment will be, just based on my knowledge of how that works. And I have it first hitting in FY29, which obviously is several years out, but the analysis that we have put together for the town is starting to factor that in, because it is a large expense. So I have it in FY29, first year it's going to be about $1 million based on my projections, and in year 2 it's going to go up to over $2 million. So if you consider the assessment on top of the additional debt service that was mentioned earlier, you're looking at, once fully connected and the assessment fully in place, that's an additional over $3.5 million that is not part of the water operation now. So if you compare that to your current budget, which is about $2.7, $2.8 million, that's obviously a huge difference in expenses.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Amy?
I think the only thing I was going to ask, and I think you've pretty much answered it, so I was wondering why we only have a 17% increase this year, but 30% the next 2 years, and why we wouldn't even it out to 25% each year. But it sounds like the future costs are so unknown that it would be more conservative to do a smaller amount. Plus, we were running a surplus anyway. Okay.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Just to let the public also know that these, coming along with these projects, as we know, our community has grown rapidly. We're really struggling to keep up with demands. So we've looked at all the options, and these are basically what we're left with in order to help not only bolster our supplies, but provide a quality of water between the PFAS. We have increasing iron and manganese. The cost to treat those separately were going to be also astronomical. So moving forward, this was a direction that most fiscally and made sense, where we could not only provide cleaner water, but also provide more water to the town.
Great, thank you. Irfan, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Everything's been answered.
Okay. And then, is there anybody, any member of the public here in the meeting room or on Zoom that has questions? Mary, I'll have you come up. Do you want to sit right next to Mr. Kamalo, so you have a microphone? Anybody else in the room with show of hands with questions on the, okay.
There's one on Zoom as well.
This is a seat I could get comfortable in. Mary Arnott, 51 Trace Road, and I will try to be brief. As I understand, please correct me if I'm not accurate on this. So the department sets a budget for the water department sets its budget, and then the rates are made so that it supports that budget.
Correct.
All right, so I don't have the detail in front of me, but do these rates for fiscal year '24 just support the budget that was approved, or does it actually create any kind of surplus to go forward for the increased costs we will be incurring? Because legally, we can only provide money to support the budget, right? We can't just set a rate and collect as much as we want.
I can answer in general terms, and Matt, feel free to jump in. Based on the rate increases presented, our goal is not to create a surplus beyond what the town needs. Also, because we are proposing a reduction in the sewer rates, intentionally, we're not growing the surplus.
Okay, so these rates only support the amount that was approved at the town meeting for the budget.
And
Is that accurate? Because I don't have that budget number in front of me.
yes,
Okay. And I'm assuming that you had to project a certain amount of usage, through the chair, I'm sorry, Muriel.
okay.
A certain amount of usage to achieve that amount of collection, if you will, to support the budget. So if the total cubic feet usage is less, then we're going to have a deficit in the budget. And if it's more, what happens to those additional monies that are collected?
Through the chair, those additional monies that get collected then create retained earnings, which, as discussed for the water dump truck that was purchased as capital at May town meeting, annual town meeting, that dump truck for $285,000 was purchased out of retained earnings. So those retained earnings stay within the enterprise funds. So an enterprise fund is a self-sustaining, self-sufficient fund. So it sets a budget and it has to live within those means of that budget. And if it's Parks and Rec that's an enterprise fund, their fees that they take in for activities need to be able to pay for those services as well as their employees and whatnot. So the same goes for the Water Enterprise Fund. It needs to be able to pay for the water, it needs to be paid for the employees, the chemicals, you know, the machinery, all of that. And then, you know, as you mentioned, we've had a lot of rain. You know, some people are probably not using their sprinklers as much. So water usage could be down. So we could be in a year that we run into an issue that retained earnings could be lower than what we're projecting, or we could come close to having a water retained earnings deficit. And when you have a water retained earnings deficit, the town has to come up with a way of how to fund that. So whether that's from an appropriation at town meeting from free cash, or a stabilization fund, or raise and appropriate, we have to come up with another source of funds to fund that. The Department of Revenue does not allow us to continue functioning with a water retained earnings deficit. So we're not in the business of making money. So the rate is set to take care of the costs of operating the Water Enterprise Fund. And that's everything. That's employees, that's chemicals, that's the, you know, the whole
Okay, far
shebang.
more than I need, but thank you.
but-
Through the chair, I'll be brief. So I don't know, hopefully maybe in the future, if we end up with a large sum of retained earnings, we could put that money toward the cost of reducing the rates in future years. But It's important to encourage people to conserve water usage. Is this 17.5 increase across the board at each tier level, or did you consider maybe Tier 1 being a lower level of charge, a fee, and Tiers 2 and 3 being higher, because those are the folks that are really using a lot of water, especially people, and nothing against swimming pools, but people filling pools, keeping the greenest lawn, those sorts of things. Did you consider maybe a reduced rate for people who are really trying to conserve and using the lower level tiers of usage?
Another brilliant question.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, another brilliant question. We did. We then, therefore, unfortunately concluded we need to do more analysis in terms of how we distribute the increases across the different tiers, and we want to review that in more detail. We'll be presenting it to the Select Board, and most likely will be part of our recommendation next year.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
I think that's it, unless I think of something else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Thanks. Barry Rosenblum, 10 Briarcliff Drive. I had similar questions on the budget that was approved for operations. It was like $2.5 million, I think, for water. And that doesn't include any capital? And this rate does not? That's one question.
Yeah. As was explained earlier, there was one capital project approved for the water department. The decision at town meeting was to fund that purchase in FY24 through retained earnings.
I see. Okay. That's right. So I was just trying to follow. It seems like when you calculate the rate, you're just looking for the water usage as what you're dividing the dollars by, right, at that point? And so town meeting already approved the rate, basically. Unless your usage forecast is a little off.
Town meeting has set the spending parameters, which will also include other considerations like capital, MWRA, and so forth. I may come back to that point because we've discussed this issue in previous years. However, town meeting does not set the rate. The rate has to be set formally by the Select Board.
Which is only adding usage forecast then to come up with the rate. Is that it, basically?
Basically, yes.
I don't want to take up too much more time on this subject, but, and then the second question was filtration costs of the new water filtration. I don't hear that talked about, but I assume that's in the operating budget, the cost of the filtration.
I'm assuming you are referring to the PFAS filtration project?
Yes.
You may recall how many meetings back the Select Board went through the funding process. There's money already appropriated at town meeting for that project.
Yeah.
And we also dipped into the upper funds to pay for the remainder of the cost of that project. So the cost for that project are already covered.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, Barry, thank you.
Thank you.
Who do we have on Zoom? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, as Barry is working out, this question has come up also indirectly through the earlier questions. We have had previous discussions regarding how to actually set the rates to account for operating costs, upcoming capital costs, creating some reserve for future capital. The decision in previous years is not to add that aspect to the rates, the last aspect, simply because we felt it was important to keep the rates manageable from a cost effectiveness perspective. Again, there are other layers that can be added to the calculation of the rates that go beyond the operating costs and the capital that is in front of us. Other enterprises do set up some reserve fund, which is called a reserve stabilization fund, to address emergency projects that come up through the years.
Thank you. I think we had somebody on Zoom that wanted to ask a question.
No, there's two.
There's two.
Hi, can anyone hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
My name is Robert Klosek, 8 January. Just a brief a brief question that you may have already answered it, I'm just understanding. So when there is that reserve, instead of floating it for obviously these issues that we're looking at in the future, is there always going to be a project that it may go toward? There's no moving it to right the next fiscal year or something, because $250,000 probably could have helped a little bit. That looks like you said it was moved to a dump truck or whatever was referenced before. So I just don't know how that decision is made, where it's either like, is the project picked up, right, the next one's on a checklist or something, or it's floated to avoid some of these things. Because again, I forget the young lady's name who was speaking first, but she made a very good point that, right, we have a surplus again, and is going to fund another dump truck or something else, as opposed to trying keeping these rates at a lower amount.
Great.
Through the chair, to answer that question, so retained earnings and free cash are one and the same. So they are what you could call undesignated fund balance. And when you have undesignated fund balance or free cash or retained earnings, they are looked at as one-time funds, one-time monies, and it is frowned upon when you have policies within municipalities, local government, to use those one-time funds towards an operating budget and an annual operating budget. So you typically would use those funds for a capital project. You would use them to, for free cash to reduce, the tax levy. You could take free cash or retained earnings and appropriate those to a water infrastructure stabilization fund or a sewer infrastructure stabilization fund. So, at town meeting, we could take, the almost $600,000 of water retained earnings and transfer those funds to a water infrastructure stabilization fund. We could build that fund up, and then you could use that towards a larger water infrastructure project, which, is the MWRA project, something like that. But it is typically used for capital or to do something to build up stabilization funds or some sort of fund like that. It is not typically used for annual operating funds. It's typically used for one-time costs or to build up reserves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair,
Hold on one second. We have one more person on the Zoom, but then I'll...
Yeah.
Who else is on Zoom? Paul.
Hello, my name is Paul Marcelo, 101 Crest Road, Hopkinton. It's my first time speaking on a meeting, so forgive me. I just have a quick question regarding for the chair. It was touched upon just regarding the financing for the actual MWRA projects. When will we have a better idea as to what programs, what grant money, what financing is going to be offered to our town, so we have a better idea of what the future costs will actually be, and also are there any federal monies that we can tap into that might help with this particular capital expenditure? That's all I have.
Thank you.
We don't have the specific timing of when the different pools of funding may become available. However, all of the sources you identified are under consideration. We have been speaking with our legislative team to see if there are any federal funds that can be applied. We are also hopeful that given the PFAS issue in town, that there will be some federal and state monies that are directed at efforts by local communities, towns and cities in addressing PFAS. So all of the above, timing unknown at this point.
Sure. Quick question on your previous comment. One was regarding the cash flow, free cash flow. Do you know top of your head what has been the trend? And second follow-up is, we don't have an infrastructure stabilization fund today. I like the idea. What do we need to do to establish that?
I can answer the last part of the question.
Yeah.
Staff can make a recommendation and the board can set that. We have brought it up multiple times over the years, but the idea has not been accepted. So we will take this as an encouragement to bring it forth next year.
In my opinion, I think so. But thanks.
I would be willing to talk about that for sure. So do we have further board comment, or are we ready for a vote? I'm sorry, hold on one second. Yep. I'm just filling it in. I'm assuming it would be the 17.5% effective July 1, and then the sewer would be it's a 5% reduction.
If you want, it's right here on page 5 in a chart, might be easier to read. Or you could
It
just-
might be
you could
easier
just
to
fill
read
it
in
in.
the chart, yeah. Oops. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Is it page
It's page 5 of the PDF.
5? It's not page 5 of mine.
Not page
Anyway,
5 of yours, okay.
that's weird. If you don't mind reading it out to me, because it's hard for me to see. What is it's
So tier 1 would be $37.27.
it's a percentage on the motion, though.
Oh, so the percentage is the one you said already, right?
17.5%.
Yep.
So, and then the 0 to 1, do we have to put those in, or can we just say as referenced in the meeting materials?
Either way works.
So we'll say it as referenced in the meeting materials in the discussion. And then the sewer is a decrease, right? Of 5%, is that right?
Yep.
All right. Okay, as referenced. Mary, I know that you had one more quick question. You have to come forward if you still have it. Yep. Yep.
Mary Not 51 Teresa Road. It's probably more of a statement, but I understand we do have monies that can go to people who have health conditions to help provide them the ability to get bottled water, and we have a few taking advantage of that. But I guess that's more of a statement. So we're all looking at this increase in water rates, and so we're going to get our bills, and then on top of that, many of us are spending hundreds, if not close to $1,000 or more a year for drinking water and cooking water because we're buying bottled water, but we don't qualify for any kind of assistance for that. So I don't know, but I'd like to put it out there, and I know you've all done a really good job at coming up with the rates and looking at solutions and everything, but I would like to put it out there that you take a look at the total impact to the homeowner on their water rates for the year. It's not just what you're charging, but it's what I'm also buying at the, at the supermarket when I have to buy bottled water for my cooking and drinking.
Yep. Mary, thank you very much. That's a really good point. And I think that we, maybe just want to make sure that the water users know that we're really sensitive to that. And also, homeowners at home, they're also, probably well users are probably doing the same thing. But it's a big hit for ratepayers. We know it, and we're working really hard to do that the best way that we can.
Okay,
So
through the
thank you.
chair, that's why I would encourage you to ask, try to get people to conserve water by having the rate
I'm going to have
increase
to ask you
hit
to
the
end,
higher
Mary, okay?
tiers.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to entertain a motion to move to set the water rates for fiscal year 2024 with an increase of 17.5% effective July 1, 2023, as referenced in the meeting materials.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Roderbush, yes?
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes. And I'll entertain a motion on the sewer rates to set the rates for fiscal year 2024 with a decrease of 5% effective July 1, 2023, as referenced in the meeting materials.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and by roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Roderbush, yes?
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes. Thank you very much. Okay, then do you want to take over the motions, Shahidul, for the sewer discount?
Sure. I move to implement a discount of up to $200 per year on sewer enterprise bills for residential sewer system users who receive property tax exemptions from the Hopkinton Board of Assessors under clauses 17, 22, 37, and 41 of Section 5 in Chapter 59 of the Massachusetts General Laws for FY 2024, effective July 1st, 2023, and for residents who receive the Hopkinton means-tested senior citizen property tax exemption tied to the Massachusetts circuit breaker tax credit.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Roderbush, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes.
I move to implement a discount of up to $200 per year on water enterprise bills for residential water system users who receive property tax exemptions from the Hopkinton Board of Assessors under clauses 17, 22, 37, and 41 of Section 5 in Chapter 59 of the Massachusetts General Laws for fiscal year 2024, effective July 1st, 2023, and for residents who receive the Hopkinton means-tested senior citizen property tax exemption tied to the Massachusetts circuit breaker tax credit.
Second.
Any discussion? By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Roderbush, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to the consent agenda. The Select Board will consider the following consent agenda: a request from the tax assessor to abate taxes at a couple of properties, and to accept gifts in the amount of $4,800 from the Friends of Hopkinton Seniors. Does anybody want to break out any items?
Nope. There's 3 gifts. Did you know that?
3 gifts that all total 48, is that right? Or accept gifts? Oh, different gifts, thank you. $600, thank you very much. $600 from the Friends of the Hopkinton Seniors, and $500 from the Asian Pacific American Librarians to our young adult librarian. So I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
By roll call vote.
Amy Roderbush, yes.
Thanks for all the contributions, and yes.
Irfan?
Irfan is really yes, and also thank you for people stepping up and helping out seniors out.
And Muriel Kramer, yes, and yes. Thank you to everybody. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is a special temporary alcohol license application for Greyhound Friends. Welcome. Good evening.
You should have our executive director on Zoom.
And who is that, please?
Terry Shepard.
Oh, yeah. Can we liven up Terry Shepard, please? Thank you. Would you please introduce yourselves? And then we're waiting for Terry to be livened up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Veronica Zolina. I'm a volunteer with Greyhound Friends and I'm a point person for the event.
Welcome.
Hi, and I am Michael Simon. I am president of the board of directors of Greyhound Friends.
Great, thank you. And is Terry, do you hear us? Are you able to join?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Can you just introduce yourself to the public?
My name is Teresa Shepard. I'm the executive director of Greyhound Friends.
Great, welcome. Okay, who is taking the lead to introduce?
Our executive director.
Oh, okay. She just pointed to you. I thought she was pointing to herself. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, so we are requesting a special license for our 40th anniversary summer gala. It's a dinner party from 4 to 7 on our facility at 167 South Hill Road at our kennel. It's an outdoor event held in a tent. We're expecting approximately 65 to 70 people tops. I think that's it.
And it goes from 4 to 7, I think.
Yes.
Okay. And do staff have any concerns or comments?
No adverse comments. We will continue to communicate with the organizers of the event to monitor if there are any adjustments that need to be made with regard to public health and public safety issues.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
I was just going to note, it looks like there's a recommendation that the caterer will coordinate with the Board of Health.
Yes.
That's appropriate. Okay.
Great, thank you for that. And Irfan, go ahead.
No, I was going to say
Okay. Yes, so it's just a matter of continuing the conversation and staying in contact with the appropriate boards in the town to make sure everything goes smoothly and you get the support that you need, and we dot all the i's and cross all the t's.
And Madam Chair, and if I may, the Board of Health item has been taken care of today.
Great. That's good to know. Perfect. Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve a special temporary alcohol license for Greyhound Friends for an event on June 24, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 167 Saddle Hill Road.
And,
Second?
I don't think we have any conditions.
It sounds like if
The Board of Health is resolved.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Bush, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan?
yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes. I hope it's very successful. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very much.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So our next item on the agenda is a special temporary alcohol license applications from the Hopkins Center for the Arts at 98 Hayden Row for a number of occasions through the summer and into the beginning of September. Welcome. Hello. Do we have anybody coming for you on Zoom, or are you? No. Okay, great. All right, so take it away, please.
So you may recall we came to you a little while ago, letting you know of our intention to apply for our own liquor license, and we are in that process. And one of the reasons that we're doing that is the trouble we're running into right now, which is in our agreement with the town, we can use a 12C licensed caterer, but what we're finding is 12C licensed caterers don't make a whole lot of money at our events, and so we cannot find any in the area to do our summer concerts. So we did find a wonderful vendor who we had used once before, who has agreed to come, but they do not have that 12C. So we decided to apply for these one days so that they can provide alcohol at these events.
All right, and so that they are certain of the number of events, so it is more attractive for them to commit to doing the work.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're also very community-oriented, so
wonderful.
It's great.
Well, I'll say it again. Congratulations on all the amazing work you do at the HCA. And I don't think, let me ask Mr. Kamala, do we have any adverse staff comments? I don't remember any.
None. This is an existing relationship. We have open lines of communication between your team and Board of Health, Public Safety, and the permitting office, and we will continue. We are expecting to continue that communication with you if anything arises from any of the one events.
Questions from the board?
I don't think I do. No, we've done this before. Everything looks in order.
Through the chair, is this the same as your previous proposal? I was just trying to understand. The previous one, you were expecting to operate some more on your own so you can have better revenues and margins too.
Correct, and we've started that process. It is a lengthy process and an involved process. And we had hoped to submit that application this month, and we came to understand through the attorney that we're working with that we could not have a one-day license while we're applying for a license, and so we've decided we didn't want to wait, have the whole summer go without having to be able to serve alcohol at these. So we're going to be applying in September. It's just a catch-22.
Sure.
In this little.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
I applaud your creative thinking. Actually, I really do.
Very good. But thank you. Thanks for all you do, of course. And
Irfan, do you have any questions?
No, I think we've been here and done that,
And we'll all be there and do.
Yeah, I think we'll all be attending. Complete faith in Colorado from their guidance.
Okay, so Shadul, do you want to do the honors with the motion?
Sure. I move to approve special temporary alcohol licenses for Hopkinton Center for the Arts for events as described in the applications on June 30, 2023, July 1, 2023, July 8, 2023, July 14, 2023, July 15, 2023, July 21, 2023, July 22, 2023, July 28, 2023, July 29, 2023, August 18, 2023, September 1, 2023, September 2, 2023.
And also, I remember to waive the application fee. Was that part of it as well?
I think we
That's
included
all
a
already
letter,
done?
and I think
Is that
that's in
already-
process. We did include a letter with the application.
Okay. Yeah, the board can
And
consider to
also-
waive.
And consider to, and so friendly amendment, will you include waiving the application fees?
Sure, and waiving the application fees for the events.
Okay, second?
Okay. By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodenbush, yes?
Shahidul Manan, yes?
For fun? Euro Kramer, yes. Congratulations, thank you very much.
Thank you. Marking the
See you at
calendars.
Hopkinton Day on the 30th.
Okay, do we have Parks and Rec? 5 minutes, that's fine, okay. Yeah, I know, you can't plan for us to be ahead. Let's see. Is there anything we can quickly do in 5 minutes?
How about appointments are uncontested? We could consider doing,
The uncontested appointments? Only if,
well, there's the town manager's appointments of, like, town council. It's like the,
sure. Do you want to do the town manager appointments? And for some reason, I don't see where that is, I'm sorry. Is it all in one, it's all in one item, right?
Yes.
Okay,
oh yeah, the motion, yeah, there's a separate
the
motion.
motion is separate, yep.
Motions are separate, yeah.
So do you have anything you need to share with us, or we can just make the motion for the town council? That's on page 4, Shandul. Do you want to do that one?
Yeah.
Page 4,
Yeah.
number 1.
Do we need to discuss anything, or you just move
I
it?
don't think so, do it. You can move it, and if people
we
have
can, yeah.
discussion, we can discuss.
I move to appoint Meares and Harrington LLP as town council and Mary O'Connell as labor council from 7/1/2023 to 6/30/2024.
Second?
Any discussion?
I just, through the chair.
Yeah.
Are they existing ones and continuing?
Yes.
Yes. Existing, providing quality service, and working also on ongoing issues.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, by roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodenbush, yes?
Shahidul Manan, yes?
Irfan? Euro Kramer, yes. How about the designated the Metro West Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board?
I move to appoint Mary Jo Lafreniere as the chair's designee to the Metro West Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board for the next year.
Second?
Any discussion? By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodenbush, yes?
Shahidul Manan, yes?
Irfan? Euro Kramer, yes. And why don't we do the last one there, if we could?
The manager appointments?
Yep.
I move to confirm the town manager's one-year appointments of the following town officials: Inspector of Animals, Elizabeth Jeffries; Animal Control Officer, William Proctor; Fence Viewer, Ed Harrow; Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Charles DeBreets; Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Peter Zereski; Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Dan Hunt; Wiring Inspector, Kevin Burett.
And then there's more. There's more on page 5.
Oh, I didn't.
That's okay.
Person to cut wire in case of fire, Kevin Burett. I hope I'm spelling it right. Assistant Wiring Inspector, Jonathan Shepard. Sealer of Weights and Measures, Louis Sakin. Public Weigher, John Palmer. Public Weigher, Jane Adams. Public Weigher, James Wright. Public Weigher, Colleen Roy. Public Weigher, Thomas J. McIntyre.
Second.
Any discussion? By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodebush, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes. Okay. I think we might be ready to go back to Parks and Rec. Come on up. Welcome. So take us away, Dan. Introduce your team.
Sure. So I'll call, since this is a joint meeting, I'll call our meeting to order, Parks and Rec Commission. This is the Parks and Rec Commission. This is a public meeting that we're here for to bring on board a commissioner for a vacant seat.
Okay, great. And do we have our candidates? There's one.
Lisa's on Zoom.
Lisa's on Zoom. So Lisa Vigasa?
I see someone with the same last name.
Praddy?
Yep. So their hands raised. Okay.
Okay. So if we can liven up the Praddy Zoom and also Lisa Jackson Zoom.
And there's a third person, but I don't see them. Seth? Right.
Seth, I'm sorry, Seth is here.
Seth is here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you come forward, Seth, and sit right up here with us? You get a little hot seat. Special hot seat for attending. Okay. So this is a joint session to fill an unexpired term for this year until the election. Is this a longer than 1 year term, or does it expire?
I can tell you that.
I believe it is longer than 1 year.
Okay. So the appointment process, just for the folks at home who haven't been through this fun experience before, is that when somebody leaves a seat before the term is up for an elected position, the combined select board and the board that involved can appoint a member to sit until the following election. So how much?
Cynthia's term would have expired in 2025. So this term, they could run again for the 1 year, but also Amy and Dan's terms expire next year too. So there's a variety of options.
Okay. So what will happen is that we'll appoint somebody tonight, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And then in May, this unexpired term will also appear on the ballot, and there'll be an opportunity for any one of these candidates or other candidates to run for that unexpired term as well. Okay, so if it's okay with everybody, I'll serve as chair. And then we really appreciate the opportunity for candidates to introduce themselves a little bit. And then also, by precedent, we like to ask, if we ask a question, we like to afford the opportunity to answer the question to all candidates who are applying for the seat, if that makes sense to everybody. And we don't necessarily have to go around and everybody ask a question, but definitely ask a question if you have one. So I'll start on Zoom with Lisa. Will you introduce yourself and why you might like to apply for this seat?
Hi, I'm Lisa Jackson. I'm a former Parks and Rec Commissioner. I served 3 terms with my wonderful other Parks and Rec Commissioners. It's such an interesting commission just because all the good work that happens in town. It's pretty amazing, all the services that Parks and Rec provide for the town of Hopkinton, and I really like being part of it. I'd be happy to fill Cynthia's seat if you so desire.
Great, thank you. And Vika Sith on Zoom?
Hey everyone.
Hi. I apologize if I have not said your name correctly. Can you say it for us?
No, as you know, you have it right. It's because of Rati. Close enough. Thank you. So, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to talk here. Well, I am currently serving as a planning board member also for town of Hopkinton, and as well as I would like to take this opportunity to run for this. The reason why, because this is an important role. I mean, it brings communities, families, everybody together, and being a part of this, it's like this is something which you can always want it to be part of the community and go ahead and achieve forward. So having this important role is key, so that when you go back, you meet people, you also meet the families, you understand what's happening across and how we can make a change to the upcoming activities, especially with the Parks and Recreations. It's key for us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And Seth, go ahead, introduce yourself, please.
Yep, Seth Kenny. I've lived on Lake Maspinock since 2011. Cynthia and Lisa, actually my neighbor. I live right door, formerly neighbors. So yeah, Lake Maspinock is a great resource for the town, obviously, as I think everybody knows. And so I'd love to be able to give back to the town as somebody who uses it every single day. In addition, I've got 2 young kids in town sports, and I just think it would be really great to give back and ensure that everybody's got the opportunity to recreate and that our facilities and programs in the town are the best around.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to start here and kind of go around the circle. Shadul, do you have any questions for the candidates?
No particular question, actually. I just want to, I see all the great candidates and great enthusiasm, so thank you all for stepping up. And unfortunately, we'll have to choose one today, right?
That's right.
But there will be opportunities in future, so whoever misses, please continue your passion, and hopefully we'll see you again soon for another committee or some other position on this committee.
I'm nowhere near as eloquent as Charlie Hui, but I absolutely echo his sentiments to encourage people to be involved. But I will say that I appreciate everyone applying and being involved and feeling like they want to make a difference, and I encourage people to continue to get involved. The thing that really stinks about this process here that we're going through, and it just feels as though when we put forth a name, given the process, the way we have to do it logically, it feels as though it's a vote against the other people, and that's what I don't like about this process. I do like that everyone's has been involved. I'm disappointed that we have to make a selection, and I hope that doesn't discourage anyone from being involved in any way here in town government going forward. There's nothing that should discourage anyone from being involved in helping out the town. We need the help.
You did a great job. Perfect. Go ahead.
I don't have any.
No questions. No questions?
No questions.
Irfan, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. To all candidates, what is your vision for Parks and Rec moving forward?
So I'll go in reverse order. I'll start with Seth, if that's okay. Sorry, surprise.
No, that's put me on the spot. I guess I would say my vision is, right, making sure we've got all the programs that everybody in our community wants, our kids and, up through adults. The facilities are the best around, and, we maintain Sandy Beach, Lake Maspinock as one of the best resources the town has.
Fikiste?
Yes, but I agree with him as he said, but also my vision is that, we have to bring additional games, like one of the key activity, which I've been saying that Tom has been asking, like badminton is one thing, and also to make sure that, Hawkington State Park with the more facilities can be improved with. We encourage more community activities out there, so it will be helping across. So different activities, more we can bring them up, so that way it helps a healthier environment for everybody.
And Lisa, thank you. Lisa.
I concur with both of these lovely gentlemen, and I agree with all the resources that we have in Hopkinton are incredible, and it has been so interesting to learn about it over the last 3 years. I would love to see like a strategic planning process. I know we've talked about this on the Parks and Rec Committee on what the needs of the town will be for the next 10 years, whether that's done with a survey or through other means. It would be nice to really kind of dig into the community and see what their needs are and what they would want to see built in Hopkinton and improved in Hopkinton. Although we have an incredible it's fun and we're opening more options, which is exciting for the town. And I think it's an incredible resource. And thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you all. I appreciate your answers, and like, what's been said so many times, this is a great problem to have, but it is a problem you can only get one. So thank you all for applying and fantastic answers, and I think we'll be great answers. Okay.
Thanks, Irfan. Amy, do you have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions. I think it is, just as everyone said, it's a hard choice, but but there are other opportunities for the ones who don't get appointed tonight.
This is why we get paid the big bucks. And we get to make these hard choices. So I have one quick question to all the candidates. Would you be willing to run again for the seat to fill out the term if you get appointed? And we'll start with Vigasid.
Of course. So this is an opportunity and I would love to run it again.
Okay. Lisa?
I would run again. The only challenge I have is I've been traveling a lot for work, so it's I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 years, so I would run again if I was still here. But just knowing that I'm here, but I just feel like I don't give as much to the board or the commission as I could, just because I travel a lot. So I would probably run again, but I didn't run for this term, so I should say that I didn't run for the open seat my term.
Okay. Ansa?
Yeah, I'm not planning on going anywhere.
That's it.
I mean, I travel for work, but I'm not planning on moving out of town anytime soon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the hard part. So this is the process. Before we entertain a motion, we go around and we ask everybody here which candidate they prefer for the position of the Parks and Rec Commission member for this unexpired term. And then hopefully that presents the person that we will then move to put in the position. You want to go the other way? Okay, sorry, Amy.
Okay, I'm gonna vote for Lisa Jackson on this first round. I think Cynthia had big shoes to fill, and having Lisa on there for this year, I think would be a good value. But anyway, I hope whoever doesn't get it can be on another committee.
Okay. Yes, Robbie.
Lisa.
Lisa.
I'm gonna go with Seth.
I'm gonna go with Seth.
Given the initiatives we have at Parks and Rec right now, and the head count issues that we have a fair number of construction projects going on, and the insight, looking at the background of the specific people for this short term, I'm gonna go with Seth.
Okay, Irfan? And Shahado.
I'd go with Lisa.
Okay, and, oh, man, this is the worst.
Was it 4-4?
It's 3, and 1.
The decider.
So it's a very hard choice to make. I could vote for anybody. I think that I am going to join the folks voting for Seth and offer you an opportunity to enter in and start. And I hope that everybody runs in May. So I'll entertain a motion to appoint Seth to the unexpired term.
I move the motion to appoint Seth
To a term expiring at the 2024 town election.
To the position of Parks and Rec Commission member to a term expiring the 2024 annual town election.
Second.
Okay. And then it has to be roll call vote for us. You guys can.
We'll go with it.
Okay. Amy?
Amy Ridderbush, yes.
Shadul Manan, yes.
Dan Terry, yes.
Amy O'Donnell, yes.
Laura Hansen, yes.
Ravi Dasri, yes.
Irfan?
Irfan Asuli, yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes. Okay, congratulations. Thanks for throwing your name in the ring.
Thank you, guys.
And good luck. And
Thank you.
Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. I'll make a motion.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, we are back to annual appointments. Oops. Okay. Annual appointments for boards and committees. So, we did the first ones.
Yeah, so under 4, there's several uncontested seats.
Start
with those.
Okay. Can I ask if everybody here is here for these appointments, aren't they? Or mostly everybody. Do you want to invite people just to come up and introduce themselves, even though they're uncontested?
If they want.
If you're here or on Zoom and you would like to just introduce yourself, the first one is for Daniel Eversole and Mohammed Haider to the Capital Improvement Committee. Are folks here? Come on up. And this is these are for terms expiring June 30th, 2026. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Dan Eversole. I live at 16 Thayer Heights. I am a recent movie here to the city. Lived in the greater Boston area since 2010. Lived in Lynn, then Swampscott, into Boston itself, and finally have now made this what I would like to be my permanent home. So
I think we met you at Hopkinton 101. Is that right?
Sorry?
Did you come to Hopkinton 101? You look familiar.
I did come to the Hopkinton 101, yeah. I worked in Perkin-Elmer, which is now Revity here in Hopkinton back in 2016, and had a chance to fall in love with this really beautiful city, and really wanted to move my husband and my dog here and start a family. And so that's really what brought us here. And as part of that, I had the opportunity to see the town meeting earlier this year. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I wasn't registered to vote, so I couldn't participate.
You were shunned to a corner.
I sat in the back left-hand corner, but it was really awe-inspiring. I had an opportunity to really hear what's going on in town, how people are responding to what's going on, and obviously capital improvement is a huge part of that, as we just witnessed with the water and sewer aspect of this and everything that goes into it. And so and I will say this is also my first select board meeting, so this trying to get myself involved and be part of the town. And so that's why I would like to really be considered to really provide that. I have a background in product management and clinical trial management, going from ideation all the way through commercialization. So have managed really large P&Ls that include capital costs that are required to set up programs and make sure that you have the right infrastructure in place to drive these programs successfully, but then also building, short-term and long-term strategy to make that happen. And so I think my background would really be conducive for the role, and I really want to support the citizens of Hopkinton, right? We put a lot of our hard-earned money into these projects, and we all want it to be successful. We want to make sure that we can really enjoy the city for its absolute great worth and beauty that it has, in addition to, making sure that we can be socially cohesive and come together in community. So that's why I'm applying, and yeah,
awesome.
I can't wait to be part of this community, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for sharing so much, and thank you for jumping in when you're, especially when you're new to town. Did you apply for more than one spot?
I did. I was encouraged to when I came to Hopkinton 101.
Yeah, we recommend. So as we're going through this, would you consider more than one spot, or do you have a preference? Just because we started with capital improvements, I just want to make sure we hear what you're...
I think from my background, I'm most suited for the capital improvements portion. I did apply to the Green, and I apologize, I can't remember the third one.
So the Green Committee is also uncontested.
I recommend you stay, because you could be appointed to a lot of things if you're not careful.
Those I did because,
So you have the Green Committee, and what else?
Conservation Commission?
Conservation.
Oh, and that is contested.
That one is contested, yeah. For the Green, I will admit, do I have a background in that? Probably not, but from my own perspective at home, right, we try to make sure that we really be part of the land, right? And we respect what it stands for. And, it's really important that we are conserving and making sure that our futures are successful, for our kids, right? They're going to be inheriting an earth that needs to be thriving for them. And so that's also why I feel like it could provide some.
Well, thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it was good to know whether you'd be willing to do both. Okay. Did we have Mohammed here as well? Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
I think we can probably vote the list after we meet everybody, or do you want to vote one at a time?
No, I think we can vote the list.
Okay.
No one else here wants to speak.
Do we have anybody, do we have Kenneth Sullivan or Samuel Doknovich for the Council on Aging? It's okay if you're not here, I'm just asking. You see him on Zoom at all?
Sorry, it says Lori Dokovich, but I'm guessing it's the same.
Oh, okay. Samuel Doknovich is on Zoom under Lori's, I think. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself and why you'd like to serve with the Council on Aging?
Well, first I'd like to say that every time I come on Zoom, it always renames me as my wife. Now, we do know that women run the world, but, I should have my own identity, right?
If only it were true.
So I'll change myself. Yeah, I'm already on the Council on Aging, so this is a reappointment for my second term. I joined 3 years ago. I retired in 2019, live at 8 Erica Drive, and I'm very involved in our town's journey to become an age-friendly and dementia-friendly certified community. So I know I've spoken to many of you at different events. Norman and I had a great chat at the Hop 101. So I'm really invested in helping Amy Beck reach her vision. Our senior services department, our senior services director, and the staff, they do such a great job engaging the community, and with the board's help, we can expand that and bring more programs and more activities to not just our seniors, but people that are thinking of becoming seniors, because the senior centers really can offer more than most seniors really understand. So I'm looking forward to another term on the board and continuing my strong involvement in the town's age-friendly and dementia-friendly initiative.
Awesome. Thank you for being here tonight. Is Kenna here? Okay. The next uncontested set of appointments is Amy Ritterbusch, Beth Watson, and Stacy Spies for the Hopkinton Historic District Commission for terms expiring June 30th, 2026. Would you like to come forward, Stacy? Sure. And I know that Beth sent us an email that she was not able to be here tonight. Amy, do you want to say anything at all?
Just that I'd be happy to serve again. It's a committee that I really enjoy.
I'm glad to hear that. Very quickly, my name is Stacy Spies. I'm a professional historic preservation consultant. I do a lot of architectural history research for other towns, and actually I consult other towns on how to set up historic districts and run their historic districts. So, like I said, you guys get me for free.
Woohoo! We love that. Thank you so much. Okay, the next position are the Permanent Building Committee. It's Curtis Smithson and Dan McIntyre. Would you like to come forward and say something? Hey, Dan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dan McIntyre, currently chair of the Permanent Building Committee. The committee has a couple of important projects ongoing now. We've got the Woodville Fire Station expansion, and as you know, we've got the planning study for the center school. Excuse me. I really appreciate a reappointment so I can see those two projects through.
All right. And I don't think we have Curtis. Okay. All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Christine Lambert for Personnel Committee. All right. Paul Gallagher, Christine Kaufman, Jeff Rowland, Peggy Barton, Donald Sutherland, Amy Groves, Dina Baker-Nell, Daniel Eversole, Amit Tandon to the Sustainable Green Committee with terms expiring 6/30/2026. Can I ask a question? Why so many people for a single year?
when the committee was originally established, it was, I think, a one-year term for all the members who were present then. And then at some point, there was a request to extend that to a 3-year term. So a large group of people's terms were extended to 3 years, and so they're all coming up at once.
Okay, so we didn't stagger them when we did it. Sadly, we did not.
Emmett Tandon is on the Zoom.
Okay.
I'm actually here.
Oh, you doing the Zoom?
Come forward, please. Is anybody else here? I know, Daniel, we heard from you. Come on forward. Anybody else that would just like to introduce yourself to the community and, you know, briefly why you want to continue with your work?
Please.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Oh, thanks. Hi, I'm Dina Baker-Nell, returning resident. We live in 2 Connolly Hill Road, and moved back second time last summer. And I am Chief HR Officer for Fortune 500 company, and I've been on our Sustainability Council at the company and really have learned a ton about what else we need to be doing besides what I thought I was doing so well in the family. So I just want to get involved in the community and learn more about what I can do as a citizen and find ways to bring my kids into the loop as well and just see what else we can do from a sustainability perspective to bring people along.
Great, thank you. I'm surprised your kids aren't driving you towards it. That's what happened in my house.
Well, one's with me, so she's interested.
Nice. Amit, go ahead.
Hi. So first up, hello everyone. My name is Amit, A-M-I-T. And we just moved into the town a year ago almost. I live in 3 South Mill Street, a family of 3. I have a 7th grader going to the Hopkins Middle School, getting ready for his holidays tomorrow. Yeah. Professionally, I work for Siemens Healthineers, and I head up a business for them. So basically, I heard the colleague earlier with Perkin-Elmer also. I'm in similar lines of business here. My business is essentially blood testing, all of your COVID tests, allergies and everything, right? So it's a pretty big global business. And I just feel that within this business, of course, we do a lot of work around ESG, environmental standards and so on. Reading about the environment, looking at community solar and so on has been an area of personal interest for me. And again, in my past life, we as a family have lived in India, Germany, China, and wherever we've gone, I think engaging and becoming, in some way, shape, and form, being a part of the community has been important for us. I feel it's a little overdue. It's been a year we've been here, but better late than never. So that was my main motivation of, in some ways, whatever I learn and execute in my corporate life in terms of, collaborating, in terms of marketing and whatever else, running the business you think of, how could you bring that to serve the community? And I think a personal interest for me also is being connected to the community, and I see that as a way of doing it. You also mentioned earlier to the gentleman, about his choice of capital, or the green is the one I believe I selected. For me, it's like the capital community is kind of where I have the most skills from my work, and the green one is where I have more personal interest, right? So at the end of the day, I would be willing, if you see fit, on both, on one. I just want to get connected somehow. That's, for me, the most important thing.
Well, that's really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. Do we have Lucia Lopez or Susan Curries for the Tax Relief Committee? Totally. Okay. Sharon O'Reilly and Paul Larder for the Woodville Historic District Commission. Okay. And Tana Liu for the Youth Commission. Okay, well, it was really wonderful to meet the folks that did come to introduce themselves. I appreciate that a lot. And I will entertain a motion to appoint the individuals that are listed for those uncontested positions for the terms that are identified.
So moved.
Second.
And by roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Ronovich, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan?
Irfan Chula, yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
And then we're on to contested boards and committee seats. All right, for the Community Preservation Committee, we have one at-large vacancy and 2 applicants. Okay. We have Chris Alejandro and Daniel Eversole. So is Chris Alejandro here or on Zoom?
I don't think so.
Well, here's the million-dollar question. Daniel, do you want to be appointed to 3 positions, or would you be happy to have the 2 that you just got? Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I did have a question, too. I thought the Capital Improvements Committee might have a restriction on not being on committees that submit articles. Would that restrict them from being on CPC anyway? Or am I thinking of appropriations? Maybe.
That's a good point, yeah.
I don't know that restriction.
Appropriation, there's a restriction, but I don't know about capital improvement.
Okay.
The
But it doesn't matter.
CPC comes to CIC, right? CPC projects. But anyways, I don't know either.
Certainly.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that is not contested. Do we want to make a motion to appoint Christopher Alejandro to the Community Preservation Committee?
So moved.
Term expiring, June 30th, 2026.
I move to appoint Christopher Alessandro to the Community Preservation Committee at large to a term expiring June 30, 2026.
Second.
By roll call vote.
Amy Rodenbush, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes. So we have the same question for the Conservation Commission. Mr. Eversole, I assume that you are good with the 2 that you have? Okay. Go ahead.
Ted Barker-Hook did call me today and email to say that he was very, very interested.
Very interested in being reappointed, yes. Thanks for saying that. So I'll entertain a motion on that now that it's not contested either.
I move to appoint Carl T. Barker-Hook to the Conservation Commission to a term expiring June 30, 2026.
Second.
By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodenbush, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Irfan? Muriel Kramer, yes. Okay. The Marathon Committee, we have 3 vacancies and 4 applicants. I know I've seen Bob McGuire, Bob Levinson, and Dottie Ferreter-Wallace. Is Joe Altman also here?
I don't think so.
Well, can you all come forward? Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like I'm in the presence of sort of town royalty here. Welcome. Thanks for being here. It is necessarily, it's a contested position, but just take a minute to introduce yourselves to anybody who might not know you. It's probably not too many people, but we'll start with Dottie, and also a little bit about the opportunities that are possible for people who don't necessarily get appointed in this process to the committee.
My name is Dottie Ferreter-Wallace. I live at 57 Pinecrest Village here in Hopkinton, and I have several years, if not decades, involved in the marathon. It's quite an honor. I totally get a real thrill of being involved in this community in this way because, in my opinion, it's the people that you meet, it's the people you work with, it's the international fields. There's such an opportunity to give back to the community in so many ways. But having lived here so long, I've seen the evolution of all the changes that have had to be made, and that comes with experience, institutional knowledge that the 2 gentlemen on both sides of me have, and that's what you get when you join a committee and you stay on and lend your skills, your leadership skills in particular, to not everybody, sometimes people think to get involved in the marathon, it's everything relates to the start line and everything around the start. No, I mean, that's one big element of it. But it's the whole town that gets involved. It starts on South Street, comes down up to the schools, to the state park. Everywhere in town, you have marathon-related, things going on, whether it's checking in volunteers early in the morning, lining up, make sure all the corrals, monitoring security throughout the race. It's just, there's so many levels of participation. And one thing I just want to share with people, because I think people have this immediate thinking that, well, if I get in the marathon committee, that's how I can volunteer. Well, you can volunteer, especially as a Hopkinton person at the start. The BAA does look for experienced people that live in the community, that know the streets, that can direct people if they're in, say, helping with the corrals or helping at the school. How do you get downtown from the school when I check in? Because you're having volunteers coming from everywhere to come and be part of it, volunteering. So I strongly tell people to really make an effort, if they want to get involved and volunteer, to make an effort to contact the BAA. They have open enrollment for volunteers, and make that initial, take that initiative and just get your name in there. And if you want to volunteer, there will be a place for you, I'm sure. And if there is any assistance needed, we can all help, and because we deal with the BA in different levels throughout the year, and we'd be happy to assist. So I just want to put that out there. As far as my involvement, it's just been a pleasure all these years, and it's great people that you meet. It's just, yes, we all work hard, but it's just, and this is an event that puts the town on the map, and we like to see the town shine in its best element. And I think having our committee, but all the community, whether it's businesses, residents, help join in, it really makes this community shine, not only on Patriots Day, but throughout the year at different events that recognize marathon events and things. So it's been a pleasure. So, Bob.
Thank you. Bob.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Bob Levinson, 13 Smith Road. The reason I'm involved, and I want to continue to be involved with the Marathon Committee, I guess it's the phrase that's in my blood. My father used to bring us to the finish line when I was small, and we'd be there before there was security. And it's just part of me. I've run it several times as well. Not well, but I ran it. So at that
It
time.
counts.
Okay, thank you very much. When we moved here 23 years ago, the race wasn't the main reason we moved here, but it was close because of my history and attachment to it, and tried to get involved as quickly as possible. I heard about this marathon committee with this woman, Dottie. I didn't know anything about it, and found out, and she said, there's no openings, but you can volunteer, as she's saying now. So I have been volunteering for over 20 years and was fortunate to get appointed to the committee a number of years ago. Dottie used a great word about honor. It is an honor to be involved with that committee, to give to the race, to give to the town. And a modification of our sign, it all starts here, or it all starts with her and the leadership she's extended with this, and to be part of it. I've had 3 different jobs. I now have 125 volunteers, and it's one of the highlights of the year for me. But I asked for this reappointment, not just because of what it gives to me, but I think I give to the town and give to the race as well. Just it really means a lot. And as Dottie's saying, there's everything I'm saying about the number of years here. I know you're looking for fresh blood, different diversity of views and everything, and also certain committees like this rely on institutional knowledge, as she's saying, and how we work together. And I just look forward to every single meeting that we have, and look forward to the third Monday in April and asked to be reappointed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And before you pass the mic, I just want to recognize that I think I heard on Saturday that you have volunteered for 20 years for the Timlin race as well. And thank you so much for that. It's an impressive stint of volunteering for sure. Bob?
Hello, everyone. I'm Bob McGuire. Valerie and I have lived at 4 Huckleberry Road for about 24 years now. I'm the newbie amongst this group here, and really a newbie. We've raised 4 children in town. All have gone through the excellent Hopkinton school systems, which I'm very proud of. I've served on several committees in town. I was involved for a long time in the Hopkinton Chamber of Commerce. I was on the Economic Development Committee for a while and actually got involved with the marathon through, I pitched in and helped out when there was someone that, a seat that needed to be filled in Parks and Rec. So it is an exciting day and an exciting time for the town. And to echo what Bob said, I mean, it's such a pleasure to work for Dottie. She's so organized. She crosses every T, dots every I, and every meeting just runs like a clock, and her leadership is so enjoyable to be part of, that when people come in and, you know, out-of-towners come and they have questions and they're panicking because it's getting close and you get an opportunity to give them some guidance and help, you feel good that you're able to help someone along the way. But it's been fun. I still love it, and candidly, I love it because I love working for Dottie. So I'd love to continue it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your continued dedication. When you think about what you all do once a year, it's really incredible that such a large team of volunteers puts on a worldwide event that way. So.
I did just want to note, too, I know we have four applicants, 3 vacancies. I believe Joe Altman has race experience with the Reach the Beach and Ragnar Trail Relay type races. So if he doesn't get appointed tonight, I'm hoping we can find a way to get him also involved with the marathon and maybe in a future year.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Great, yeah.
Okay, and I will try and endeavor to reach out to him. I don't think we get contact information in our packet. I'm pretty sure it gets redacted, but just reach out to him and make sure he knows that if he would like to get involved volunteering, there's certainly opportunities to do that for the marathon.
I actually sent him an email today.
Oh, great.
Explaining what these positions were and also if he has any questions. But I will make it a point to reach out to him and let him know how he can get involved.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. I will entertain a motion for the Marathon Committee.
I move to appoint Robert McGuire, Bob Levinson, Dorothy Ferriter Wallace to the Marathon Committee to a term expiring June 30, 2025.
Second.
Also, it's 2026 is the problem. There's a typo.
It's a 3-year term.
It's a 3-year term. There's a typo in the packet. So is that okay if we change that, Chad? So it would be 2026.
2026.
And we need to fix that in the packet. The terms are 3 years on the Marathon Committee. Did you say second? Yep. Okay. By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodebush, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes, and thank you for all the great service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Irfan?
Thank you for your wonderful service. Irfan Shul, yes.
Carol Kramer, yes. Thanks so much. All right. Our next item of business is public hearing on the utility poles. So I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Sorry for being late. Do we have to vote to open it, or do I just open it?
Open it is fine.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing. Do we have somebody here for the utility company?
There's someone on Zoom with their hands up. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Question first. You didn't do the ADA commission?
The next meeting.
Next meeting, sorry. Sorry.
And we have enough applicants, correct?
Applications are still coming in?
Still coming in, but we have at least enough to fill it to begin.
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, who do we have from the utility company, Mr. Kamala?
Don Varner is on the Zoom.
Don Varner, are you from the utility company?
Did we put that in the packet, that it was going to be the ADA committee tonight?
not that I know of.
Okay, I just was...
All right, Mr. Camello, what do we do about the public hearing? Oh,
There's no one representing?
Well, there's someone named Don Bonner, is he not?
Yes, please, yes.
Don Boner?
Yeah, I believe so.
And he's live enough.
Sorry, I was on mute, yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Oh. I'm not sure why we have the feedback.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Kamala, will you start us off? Oh, boy. Can you, Don, can you mute until you need to speak?
Yes, I can.
We're hearing an echo.
Okay, thank you. We're hearing a terrible echo here in the room. I don't know if you hear it on the Zoom. I appreciate that. We'll do our best to make sure we figure this out. So we're going to hold 2 public hearings on separate petitions for utility poles. The locations are at Hayden Rose Street. Oh, and one was withdrawn, so I take that back. We'll have one. It's a pole on Hayden Rose Street. It's to relocate one jointly owned pole to a point on the southwest side of Hayden Rose Street, approximately 120 feet. Don, we're going to not talk. Can you unmute and tell us what you need from us for this poll?
Sure. Can you hear me all right? All right. Just give you a quick synopsis on the Hayden Road pole. It's essentially a relocation. We're moving the pole back 60 feet off of the main street. And I thought this was part of the Main Street project as well. But it may be slightly different. I'm not entirely sure. But the bottom line is it's moving 60 feet back, and after we move it back, the other pole will be removed.
If I may.
I think it's at the corner now.
Can you mute again, Don?
Yes, it will.
Mr. Kamala.
Yeah, for the board and for the public, yes, this pole is part of the Main Street Corridor project.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have any questions?
I was just going to point out for the public, too, it's just the pole is currently near the corner at Main Street and Hayden Row, and it would just be moved back. It doesn't even look like very many feet.
Away from the corner?
Away from the corner, but on Hayden Row.
Okay. Chandra?
The only question I have is, would it impact any or require any rework on the Main Street?
No, it's appearing before the board. My understanding is because it may not have been included at this location in the original approval of the poles for the Main Street Corridor project.
Okay, so we will take one pole, and it will be a new pole, and there will not be 2 poles.
No, not 2 poles, no double poles.
I'm just asking the question explicitly. There will be one pole.
There will be one pole, yeah.
And there will be one pole in short order. It will happen
right away.
At the same time.
We are asking Verizon to comply with the schedule for the Main Street Corridor project.
Okay, and what does that mean about complying with the schedule?
It means being on the ground now.
Means what?
Putting the pole on the ground now.
Yeah, being on the ground now to prepare for the work.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And, all right. Irfan, do you have any questions?
My only question is, when will the old pole be removed? I think I heard an answer to that.
Yeah.
Unless you can provide any more clarity.
Okay, so let me just ask just because I want time certain. The Main Street Corridor project is slated to be complete in the fall of 2023?
Substantially complete, correct.
And that pole will be gone in the old pole will be gone in the fall of 2023?
We don't know yet. We have asked Verizon to clarify their schedule. I don't believe I've received any updates yet from the project team.
I do think that we have to make sure that we're really diligent about that because we haven't had good success. And if there's something that I can be doing to help, I'm happy to do that. Okay. Anybody have any questions that we haven't asked for Mr. Voner?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, Shadul, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the relocation of one jointly owned pole number T.1/E.1 to a point on the southwest side of Hayden Row, approximately 120 feet southeasterly from the center line of Main Street.
I just, if there was public comment?
Oh, thank you. Oh, man, I even wrote a note to myself. Is there anybody from the public on Zoom or here that would like to speak on this issue? Thank you, Mrs. Lazarus. And then I'll close the public hearing. But Irfan, did you have an additional question?
Not a question, it's just that I saw that Mr. Donor had his hand up on Zoom, and I think he wanted to speak, so someone give him that opportunity.
Thank you, yes. I just wanted to let you guys know, I know you're very anti-double pole in town, and one thing I can tell you from my experience, when I see a new pole is being replaced, that is typically when you, I'm sorry, not being replaced. When you see just straight up a new pole beside an old one, that is when you get a double pole. This is an actual relocation, which means they need to move that pole away for a substantial reason. So that pole would be moved 60 feet further away, and once it's moved away, they get those wires up. The wires are already there. They just need to bring them over. The pole will come out shortly thereafter. So relocation is typically where you see the poles removed quicker, in my experience. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. By roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodebush, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Irfan?
Irfan is fully yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes. Thank you very much.
We missed we were to appoint staff liaisons to the Marathon Committee, too.
Oh, thank you, Amy. Okay, thank you. We have to go back in time a little bit. So we have staff liaisons from the following departments. For terms expiring, is it just 1 year then? 6? They're always a year? Okay, so Joseph Bennett from the Police Department, Gary Doherty from the Fire Department, Tim Person from the School Department, and Mike Manser from the Department of Public Works.
Okay, did you just make that motion?
Yeah.
I would second that.
Okay. By roll call vote?
Amy Rodebush, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Irfan?
Irfan is fully yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes. Thank you for noticing that, Amy. Awesome. Okay, the next item of business is Select Board guidelines for parades, events, meetings, and gatherings. Mr. Kamalo.
This is an effort representing collaboration between town staff, Hopkinton Sustainable Green Committee, and the Select Board.
And you want to tell the public a little bit about what is involved with that?
Yes, I think.
Linda, join us.
Linda,
thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm from the Sustainable Green Committee. I'm Linda Chuss from 11 School Street. And we want to have the Select Board help us in having sustainable event guidelines for town-sanctioned events, gatherings, meetings, things like that. We came up with these this year, in part inspired by somebody running a road race and saying things could be a little greener. And then Amanda Fargiano, our liaison, suggested, hey, the Select Board might be able to help because they they give permits for parades and things. And then Elaine worked with the guidelines that we came up with and brought them to you. So thank you to all of you for doing that. So basically, this is to help us meet our climate action plan and net zero goals, encouraging people to follow greener practices at their gatherings, everything from meetings, even like this one, which you guys are doing some good stuff, to parades. It's everything from no plastic bottles to encouraging people to bike or carpool. suggesting no beef at events because beef is very bad for the environment. So some of these are not as fun as other ones. Composting, considering not giving giveaways because they're often wasted throwaways. We have more info about this, so these were the guidelines we came up with. It was a one-pager. We have more info about it at our website that gives additional suggestions, like instead of balloons, consider throwing rose petals or using paper decorations, things like that. The benefits would be reduced trash and emissions, and also raising awareness, encouraging people to contribute to the solution, engaging them, serving as examples, and helping people build habits. Per Elaine's suggestion, we looked at what other towns do. Some do nothing. Some actually legislate aspects, like some towns ban single-use plastic bottles at events, some ban balloons, some ban styrofoam. So that was the easy part, coming up with the guidelines. The hard part is getting people to be aware of them and helping motivate following them. And so we've been reaching out to groups so far. We've contacted a lot of groups and talked to them about these. We'll continue to do that and continue to ask people to follow them. And the motivation part is, to start with, is we're telling people to just pick one new thing that they don't do now. Get good at it, make it a habit, and then add another one. So don't try to do all of them at once. So this is where the select board, we believe, can help. People have to come to you to apply for permits for parades and certain events. If we would ask that you include the guidelines, Elaine drew them up for that package, and ask people to identify one to follow. Ask them to at least review these and come up with an intention to follow one. And then ideally track what they did, see what the impact was, and when they apply to you the next year for a permit, let you know what they did the last year and what they plan to do again the next year, or month, or however often they come to you. So that's our specific ask, is that this be included in the permitting process as a way to help encourage people to follow the practices. And for the future, we may try to offer incentives, whether they be actual incentives or just kudos. And we may someday seek legislation, but not right now. And we're also starting to work with some more permanent establishments, like businesses in town. So hopefully they'll see something similar to this. So that's my spiel.
This is amazing, actually. Go ahead, Mr. Powell.
Sorry, through the chair, if I may, just to clarify, at town hall, we envisage our responsibility being, one, when people come in, seek information on how to apply for parade permits, event permits, we will share the guidelines with them. And then secondly, whilst these are really beautiful goals to shoot for, we are suggesting that for now that they be guidelines versus requirements. And then thirdly, yes, we're very interested in talking about how we could track performance.
Okay. Okay, great.
I really appreciate concept into action, right? Giving people real actionable things to think about. So well done. I appreciate that. Amy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, or I just wanted to add, I do think this is a great idea. They do have this already in the town where I work, and I think it's really good to have this goal. And I think we also, as the town, though, have to lead by the example at our town meeting and our smaller meetings, that we are following these guidelines as best we can, too. I know we have a lot of paper at the town meeting, which is better than plastic, but still.
Yeah. I thought that this year, I got confused this year. I thought we weren't going to have all the paper handouts. We were only going to have online handouts, but it's very hard to. It's hard for me too. I'm an old-fashioned person, but I'm sticking to it, trying really hard to do it online and not print the paper, but.
I think it is gradual, though. Some people do still need paper, but it seems like we had less paper.
Did we reduce it?
We were hoping to, however, from an inclusion perspective, we felt we needed to provide many avenues for participants.
Yeah.
I just want to point out there's so many things that can be done. Paper's just one. So just look every year at town meeting to pick one or two things to do better. Adding a recycling bin for the plastic bottles would be a good one. We noticed that this year. So maybe you can't do paper, that's okay. Have a recycling bin for plastic bottles. Ask people to carpool if they can. Things like that.
Yeah,
So there are a lot of things
there
people
should be a recycling bin up at the school, so it must just not have been out, because they do recycle.
They were all in the garbage can.
Every
all
year,
those
there's always
bottles.
just trash cans. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was great. You guys encouraged people to come and get the reusable bottles, but for people who didn't have that, the bottles went in the... But like I said, there are so many things to do, so if you can't do paper, don't worry about it. Pick something else.
Maybe next year at town meeting time, we can come up with 5 suggestions to remind people.
Right, and that's sort of our outreach effort, is trying to go to events as best we can and, pick one or two. An event I was involved with, the Kids Trail Explorers event at the library, I gave the guidelines to everyone there. I visited a lot of the tables at Hop 101 and shared the guidelines with the book groups there. And then we'll just start working with people one-on-one and, be more specific. So using the application process and giving them out is one aspect of reaching people, but one-on-one reaching out to groups is another aspect, so.
Thank you.
To the chair, no, thanks for doing this. This is awesome. We are all aligned on the net zero program and policy, and this is certainly supporting it. So thank you for putting it together, very thoughtful and very elaborate. A few technical things I just wanted to understand, thinking from execution perspective. One is that would it incur, how do I put it, additional cost burden to a level that some people or some organizations, because most of the parades and others are organized by non-profits for raising funds and whatnot. So in some ways, while I want to, of course, promote and move towards net zero, also think about the practicality of execution. And I haven't gone through each of those, but thematically they're great. I love them. But have you considered that? Does it impose, like someone organizing it would cost X, and following all of these would cost X plus Y?
So the point isn't to follow all of them. It's to pick one or two and get better each time you have an event. So if you have an event and you say, okay, we're going to not allow plastic bottles at this event, and we're going to not incur any additional costs because we're going to ask people to bring their own water in reusable containers, because that works first, great. Then do that for the next 2 or 3 times you have the event till it's a habit. Then pick another one. Oh, we serve food at this event. We're not going to use the plastic plates and cutlery. We're going to use compostable ones. That costs more money, but we're willing to take that step now. So we're not asking people to, nobody has to do this. All of this is just guidelines. None of it's required. Permits won't be denied if people don't say they follow any of them. But we just want people to start thinking about it and sharing about it and serving as examples. So
no, thank you. That makes sense. Maybe we'll have an award system who follows the most. We'll have a reward or award system who follows the most.
Right, that's sort of the incentives at some point. We may want to give public kudos to people who say, we did this year, we did that next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In fact, if I may, just to add to that point, when we reviewed the list of suggestions and guidelines at staff level, we did account for cost. And here's what we came down to. Number one, you will notice that there's an emphasis on reduction. So if you're buying less, it may cost you less. Number two, if you are recycling and renewing, it means you are not incurring the extra cost. So there was an effort to approach this from, it can get expensive, but there's a way of reducing cost upfront.
If done right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's a great point. Net zero and doing things better for the environment sometimes costs more, but often costs less, just maybe not right up front.
Yeah.
But
So through the chair, I think that this is a guidance item, and what I like about it is it just encourages people to right? Give it a little bit of thought as far as what you're going to do and how can I reduce. There's a lot of things in here that don't cost anything. Cardboard, the impact on the environment is huge. And yeah, I think just the idea of asking people to think is a no-brainer.
Yeah, thanks. So I think we're ready to entertain a motion to approve. Bottom of page 6.
I move to approve the guidelines for parades, events, meetings, and gatherings for town events and those requiring permits and licenses from the board.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call?
Amy Ritterbush, yes.
Scheiderman, yes.
Irfan?
Yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope we get this up prominently on the Facebook page, on the town website too. These are great ideas everywhere.
Nice work. Yeah, good work.
Noticing it's gotten very warm in the room. Did we turn the air conditioner down?
Somebody must have turned the air conditioning off.
It wasn't pretty hot.
We found who has the climate control.
It's in the 60s, I would say.
Well, I do, but if I'm outvoted, that's fine.
It could go up a little bit for me too. Okay, next we have police chief update. Welcome.
Through the chair, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and just give a periodic report of the things we're working on down at the PD. I put in a few short slides, and you know me, I'll try to be succinct as we go through stuff. Ben will pull up the slides in a moment.
Oh, we can see them.
I think they're coming.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't see them.
Good thing I had them set up on my phone then.
Oh, no, he's switched.
Oh, here we go.
Now you can see it here.
I just locked my phone. So, in preparation for a meeting, I was every month we get together as senior leaders and we kind of run down all the things that we're working on. And we share that as a document to make the meetings move more smoothly. So everybody can come to the meeting and say, well, I see you doing this. Can we talk about that? Or can I help? And it's helpful. So I always have an ongoing list, but the list is large right now. I mean, just think of the downtown corridor project, managing that and responding to the community and checking the details and filling the details. That alone is a daunting task. You may or may not know that the station took a severe hit. The police station took a severe hit when 2 pipes broke, and we have a large portion of the station. We have a lot of offices were wiped out on the second floor, and our common space, the squad room and the kitchen, are going to have to be rebuilt. So that's ongoing. So that and those things in themselves are a heavy lift. We're working towards accreditation. So accreditation offers a set of standards by which we can develop policies, and then we have to ensure compliance. So the accreditation standards, which are changing, we're going to be moving to the 6th edition. The standards have become different in order to accomplish the objections of the intentions of the legislature when they created police officer standards and training. So we have over 400 policies that we have to go through and bring up to this new standard, including looking for numbering changes, maybe no substantive change in a policy, but a reference number. So again, you have a standard, you have a policy, and then you have to prove that you're complying with the standard. So today is a fun day at HPD. They went to the range. So we have to have policy on firearms, the review, the testing, all written into the policy in compliance, noting the numbers that meet the standards, and then the compliance and the proof of it. So one of the things we did is we brought in we did 2 things to accomplish that, well, 3 major things. We selected a software product that eventually will give you one view of all those things. So as someone is going through it, they can see the standard, the policy, the reference to the standards, and then the proofs all in one. So when we go to accreditation, it should help us, and it'll help us see what might be missing. We also hired a contractor to come in and work with us on it. We call that, in my job, it's a force multiplier. You know, we only have so many resources, we're spread thin, and that helps take the burden off of me actually being in, these are weekly meetings working on this. I'm really, speaking of accreditation, I'm really pleased with 3 sergeants who really stepped up to take the major role in that. Sergeant Van Ralton and Sergeant McNeil and Sergeant O'Neill are working on this regularly. So it's a daunting task. We're moving forward towards our reaccreditation next year. Another huge task. This time of the year, and we're working on police officer standards and training. They're doing the officers' certification through a period of 3 years by isolating letters of the alphabet. So last year, for the first year, they blanket certified everybody, so we could keep having police officers on the street. The second year, they did A through H, which I was a part of, which means that we have to submit a packet and do interviews, and someone has to attest, and that includes me. So a member of the board, thank you, Amy, attested to me that I was a person of good moral character. And right now we're moving through I through P in that, and that deadline is looming in June. We also, in our period where all of our training has to be conducted and then submitted through another portal to the Municipal Police Training Council. So it's another intense thing, and Sergeant O'Neill has stepped up to become training coordinator, and he is a lot to do in just a couple of weeks. He's also taken lead on the station building project. You approved the appointment of traffic constables at the last meeting. That was a huge lift, and thanks to Human Resources Director Casey for doing a lot of work to get that in preparation. And you saw we onboarded 20-something traffic constables, and there's more to come. There's 1 or 2 more waves coming, and that will help us. That also has several benefits. One is it helps us take care of all the details that we have going, as well as takes the burden off of dispatch, because now that there are team members, the details tonight got filled out by an automated system that tracks hours, that does billing, that it brings it all in. So that's going to greatly help. That's greatly going to help the department, but it's a daunting task. And Sergeant McNeil is lead of traffic, and he's taking lead on the transition of all those traffic constables, making sure they come into compliance with all the expectations of the policies. We in collaboration with the union and Mr. Kamalo, one of the big projects that we have looming is the implementation of body-worn cameras. It's a huge task. It's a large purchase and procurement. There's several different models, and once they come on, it's going to bring a great increase to the amount of workload because of the volumes of records that can be easily requested and need to be redacted. It's in a small town. We hired a member from a small town, and they said that the department was half and a third as busy, and they were spending 20 hours just managing the body-worn camera. Another huge task. Along with that comes tasers. Our tasers are end of life, and we're committed to them as a less lethal use of force for people in crisis, especially. We don't use them very often, but we need them. And then last but not least, I left these because I want to spend the most amount of time on them. We are actively recruiting all the time. We currently have 5 officers in the queue. That's another daunting task involving interviews and first and second round interviews that HR does a great job setting up. And then the decision, background investigations, prepare before the board, and then onboarding them brings on our FTO team, which is outstanding, for 12 weeks of training. And again, a lot of work going on right now. So we're very active with recruitment, and we're looking forward to continuing that. And we spoke last December about promotions. It's no secret that right now I don't have anybody above the rank of sergeant, and we need to move forward with that. With all this going on, I can carry a lot, but that's a lot to carry. And in the organization, my sergeants and staff are stretched as far as I can to stretch them. They really stepped up in the absence of the deputy, and they're doing great work, and I want to commend them on it. But there's no more bandwidth in the organization, and that's what we're facing now. So, moving through the promotional process, making promotions, right down to including sergeants, lieutenants, and deputies is kind of my priority, because I've set up a structure where we have these other things moving forward, but I also need some bandwidth to do what I need to do, given the stuff that is in addition, and run a police department. So that's where probably I need to focus, get some time on that, and some help. And if you go to the next slide, Ben. So here's the proposed build-out of the police department at the current staffing level. And you'll see it's you, me, and the sergeants. And with lots of support from Mr. Kamalo and Ms. Lazarus. So what I'm considering, and maybe Norma can speak to this one after I start, is I think I need a force multiplier to help me to get this done, to move through those high-level things, those executive-level things that I need time and bandwidth to accomplish. And I think that Norman has a model that he's used before. He's offered to help with that, and I just wanted to socialize it tonight, and I look for your support.
Are you going to tell us the model?
Yeah, briefly. We have immediate and present needs to move forward some key projects for the department. And in that regard, we always look for experienced individuals who can walk in and help us move these projects forward whilst we are rolling out a long-term hiring process to fill the position. For example, we just did that with the DPW and Parks and Rec Commission. So I think based on my discussions with the chief, clearly there is need for the department to get somebody to come in and help move, perhaps at the deputy chief level position, projects, some of the projects that we identified tonight, with the intention of then beginning the long-term process. And I think promotions are also key in the department, and that's where we believe that this individual who can come in immediately can make a difference.
Okay. And so the process for appointing, so when we talk about the DPW and we talk about Parks and Rec, it's an interim person, right?
Correct.
So what is the process that we're going to be entertaining in order to appoint an interim deputy chief?
What we hope for is that there are individuals who are ready to jump in, and we can move that process at staff level immediately.
Okay.
And we have multiple options. We could, I mean, you appoint. It could be have the title of deputy chief or come in as a consultant, like has been done in the past too, with that works under my authority to help. So there are options to do that.
Okay, so somebody experienced at that senior level who can take ownership of at least some of these big projects. That sounds like a great idea to me. I'll open it. I have some questions, but I'll open it up to them.
Yeah, I think my main question was just, so there's some that are proposed, but were they in the budget? Are these FTEs that we're adding, or were they in the budget?
There'll be no additional FTEs, and the cost can be incurred within my budget structure.
Through the chair. So thank you for all the good work that you and the department does. Overall, I think this makes sense. We'd like to bounce it with the budget, but you're confident that it's within the budget right now, so that's we can table that. And anyway, we can support. I think we're definitely here to help and provide support to leadership. I want to understand a little bit on the model. So we are looking at an interim deputy position that could be filled with existing talents or known talents that can help you with the projects and ongoing operations. Is that the ask, kind of?
The ask is for assistance. It can be a deputy chief, or it could be an executive level position.
So it could have a different title.
It could be executive officer. It could be special projects manager, or anything. When you bring in an interim, they sometimes can have a chilling effect on an organization, and that's my concern.
Someone senior enough to help you with the projects.
Exactly.
And the follow-up is, in general, I'm sure you have put a lot of thoughts in this. How are you planning or handling the succession plans with the promotions and all the organizational thoughts?
No, thank you for bringing that up. That's another thing I'm really excited about. So traditionally in law enforcement, if you end up getting something, you carry that to your death. So if you learn how to do a skill set, nobody wants to give anything up. Well, we're doing a complete paradigm shift. What we're doing is we're building teams and we're building people. So by reference, first one that really hit out of the gate, and I mentioned it today, is firearms. Sergeant O'Neill has been running the firearms program for an extensive period of time. At a staff meeting, we talked about how do we change the model, how do we shift the organization, how do we pivot from that type of model. And what we did is we came up collaboratively with the idea that we'll build teams because we need to build succession planning. So what he was tasked with doing is going out and getting people and building a team. And in doing that, he trained armorers, he trained range people to train and manage the records. And so now he has a team of people so that he can build it. Now he can supervise it, but he's not physically doing it all. So it's, and what it does for succession planning is it allows those patrolmen, when they talk about it, we will start seeing natural leaders emerge from these teams. We'll also see people that have strong skill sets and team building skills and interpersonal skills as they work together. So we're raising the whole ship, right from the ground up. And recently, I'll say, I wanted to make sure I said this, I missed it, but I've been really impressed with people who did not have a lot of specialty work or stuff on their resume coming forward and really delivering. So succession planning is better than it's ever been. By way of my story, when I ran for sergeant, if you go into my LinkedIn account, when I was the sergeant, I was in charge of detectives, SRO, court prosecution, grant writers, scheduling. That's not a way to run an organization anymore, because it's a single point of failure. So it's exciting. It's exciting, and it came out of a staff meeting, and it's becoming organic in the organization.
Thank you.
Irfan.
No questions. I just want to say I like what I'm seeing here. I like that attractive thing outside the box. What I'm really impressed with is the teams and building resilience within the team for promotion and for advancement. So I'm liking what I'm hearing there. I'm also completely 100% on board with getting this up. That's an awful lot to be trying to deal with just by yourself. So I guess I'm not leading, and I'm fully supportive of providing whatever kind of assistance we can.
Through the chair, thank you.
Awesome, Irfan, thank you. I have a question, but first I forgot to say something. I spoke to Officer Von Relton at the Timlin race, and I think the community needs to know that every year your officers support that race with their personal time.
Every officer there from Hopkinton PD was a volunteer.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's incredible dedication, and truly appreciate it. So,
and the cause is near and dear to our hearts. So,
yeah, I think Officer Von Relton shared that his dad suffered from ALS. So I hope that's okay that I indicate, he said it publicly, so that it is important to him in particular, but the department supports him and the race every year. So that's amazing. I have a couple of questions, but in general, I like a plan that provides you some real actionable support to sort of to manage all these. I've jotted down this list of projects that you all are doing a couple of times, and I think one of the things that one of the questions I have, for example, on the compliance work. The software implementation, you mentioned that we hired a contractor to help with that. So is that contained and on track and not requiring other people's work, or is that still a very heavy workload for someone?
So it's very much still a heavy workload. They come in and assist us. So right now, Sergeant O'Neill and Neil are going through every policy, comparing it to the new standard, coming up with recommendations that will then Sergeant Van Ralton and I will go to Human Resources if it touches recruitment or promotion or anything related to those topics, and then the union, as far as operationally, that might be kind of any change, because we want to work collaboratively with the union when we start changing policies, because it kind of brings everybody on board with it. And so those conversations have already begun, and
okay.
So it is what it really brings in is the institutional knowledge that we don't possess in the building. That was completely 100% built and managed by one person.
This system.
Accreditation.
Okay, so the software implementation and compliance is all together with the accreditation. Mm-hmm. That's one monster task.
Yep.
I say just, yes. That's one. That's just one task. Okay, one task. Okay, so just for me to understand, and just for the board and the public, the timeline, the deadline for that is March 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
But it never ends, really.
Yeah,
because
yes.
we have to be compliant now.
Yes.
We have to prove that we're compliant for March, and then we have to maintain compliance.
Okay. And you have a couple officers shepherding that through. Does somebody own that?
Sergeant Van Ralton is the accreditation manager.
He owns that, okay.
So what he does is he'll work with the vendor on policies and policy compliance to bring it as far as he can, and then he'll be bringing these policies to me for final review.
Okay.
Like right now they're working on use of force and all the hot button topics, the low use, high risk type stuff.
Yep.
High liability. Yep. And all the foot pursuits and all those high risk, high liability policies. Okay.
So we're 10 months away. Am I doing March, April, May, June? 9 months away from the deadline. So how are we tracking to be on time and on task for that? Are we 20% there? Are we 10% there, but have a process in place to get further? What do you, and I know
we're 19% there.
19?
We're 29% in some areas,
okay.
And the lower value in others. I forgot the second number. But we're 19% overall between the categories complete on the policy review and compliance monitoring.
All right, so when you think in terms of this new resource, whatever we call it, this new resource, that's a high priority task, because without accreditation, I assume, is a big deal if we get to March 2024 and we're not at 100%.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I contemplated and discussed letting accreditation fall off and just going with 6. So we're not trying to comply with today's standards. I know from my fellow chiefs who are newer chiefs or are having issues, I know some that are doing that. They're saying, you know what, we'll fall out of accreditation. We're going to focus on our re-accreditation date. But I'm confident that we'll stay accredited and re-accredit on the 6th.
Okay. And for
They're
whatever,
assuring me.
for whatever reason, not being a professional in your field, it sounds better to me that we stay accredited, but we need to stay on track with how that is going. So the post officer certification training, another individual task, which sounds easy, but what is the level of effort from your team in order to do that?
So every training we go to, according to POST and the Municipal Police Training Council and our rules, has a litany of things that have to be done. There has to be a syllabus. There has to be a roster. It has to be approved by the Training Council. Then it gets, all that information, once it's completed, gets uploaded to a portal where it gets reviewed by the MPTC and approved. So we all have to have a minimum of 40 hours of training, including me.
Okay, so this is the training piece and the post certification are all together?
Separate.
Separate, okay, so I was asking about post, but let's go to training.
Okay, so post, what happens with post is they're constantly monitoring, so if I have an officer who's subject to discipline or being investigated, I have to notify them within 48 hours. Reports have to be submitted to them, and they're basically, the status of every member of our department is live, a living product that has to be maintained. That involves, initially a huge task was uploading everything we had to upload from the beginning. And the other big lift is recertifying officers, which has been ongoing. There has to be interviews conducted with the officer, and then an attestation and uploading. So that's been ongoing, and we actually submitted our last one today from that block of the alphabet. So as far as post, the only thing left would be me reporting discipline or any changes of status. An officer leaves, an officer comes in. We hire somebody that's new. They come out of the academy. We certify them.
So all of our initial uploads of information has been successfully accomplished to the post?
Yes.
Okay, and then now what we're talking about is a management process of a living big task.
It's not compared. It doesn't compare to accreditation. It doesn't compare to even MPTC.
Okay.
Managing the entire department's training records and staying in compliance and scheduling training is a much more daunting task.
All right. And who owns that?
Post?
Yeah.
So right now it's Dr. Van Ralton. He's worked through the certification process for I through H, and I handle notification and requests regarding any discipline.
Okay. And recertification is ongoing, or it's every year, or it's?
It'll be every 3 years based on that alphabet.
Q3 years, okay. Finish with training, I'm sorry, I took you off training. So there's a training regimen and the documentation, which is all part of your compliance as well, I'm sure.
Sure, exactly.
Right.
With complying with everybody.
Okay. Sergeant O'Neill is your training coordinator?
He is.
Okay, so he owns that task?
He does.
And what is that a new task, or is that an ongoing task that he took over and is managing, or?
Sergeant Brennan managed that for years.
Yeah.
Sergeant Brennan, as the day shift sergeant, has taken on additional duties. Since we don't have anybody in the command level, sorry, it doesn't sound like much, but managing the fleet, managing the repairs, managing ordering, purchasing, registering, all that was an additional thing that Sergeant Brennan took on. So in order to start, this was the first part of really us building the structure and succession plan, and that was the first thing that Sergeant O'Neill took on before.
Okay. Okay, so Sergeant O'Neill and the training coordination program, that's a pretty mature program, and he's in a management position now, or is it building?
I'm proud to say that once he finished his firearms training part, it's 80% built. He could branch out and build other training divisions, say for first aid, CPR, other things, but what we need is built. So.
Okay, and it could be added to?
Yeah, there's growth potential.
We assume it would be, okay. The station building project, just give me the end date on when we hope that that's done.
If anybody could pick an end date on a construction progress, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right, I'm going to put that in.
We have some walls back up.
Okay.
As of today, with some plaster on them, on the second floor.
Okay, and he's also managing that building project?
Facilities is managing the bulk of it, but I said to him, pick the colors, be the point of contact with facilities, pick the carpet, pick whatever needs to be done.
You gave him the decorating
choices. Take care
choices.
of it for me, yeah. And he's got
Your wife should be so lucky to get
he's got impeccable taste, so I have no worries.
Okay, all right. The traffic constables, where are we in percentage-wise? This is also Sergeant McNeil? Nope, this is different.
Nope.
This is Sergeant.
This is McNeil, it's not Sergeant.
Yep.
So the heaviest part of the lift is done. We have, I worked with HR to design the job description, job posting, post the jobs. Sergeant McNeil then worked with HR to go through the applications to determine who met the first round of qualifications, and worked with HR to make that list that was brought to you. HR worked on the disclosure. There's a form. I don't know what that they all have to sign. The firefighters and dispatchers have to sign.
Yep.
And now he's working on all the other compliance, make sure that they've signed off on their training, they have the appropriate uniforms, and just basically bringing them in, onboarding, if you will, of all those employees.
So the traffic constables is a new system?
So we used to have special police officers.
Okay.
But anybody with a police officer title has to meet the standards of a full-time police officer.
Okay.
So it was daunting. So years ago...
We used to, on the select board, have little badges and be special officers. Yeah, it was incredible. When I got on, I'm like, what is this? No. No, this is a terrible idea.
Well, I don't know where those went, because I don't have them. But so we were one of the first, actually, under the prior chief, Chief Lee. We moved away from specials to maintain accreditation and not have to send people to 40 hours of in-service and do firearms qual. And actually, the model that was built, which I had very little part of, was requested by probably 50 departments as they all moved away from them.
Okay. So we're 80% there?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Because we have some more names we're bringing forward, and then what we need to do is move that into a recruitment tool, and an opportunity to bring people that might be interested in law enforcement into the field from colleges, and so that's the next phase. The final phase, actually.
All right. The body cameras, the body worn cameras. That's a procurement process. There is what's the deadline on the body cameras?
Well, there was an agreement with the union. We ideally would have had it done by June 30th. I spoke with the union president today, and he stands by the agreement that he made with the town. And when we move forward with it, we will.
Okay, so we are not in jeopardy of losing that piece of the contract because of the deadline? The
union president said that the union, all the agreements that they made in the side letter are on the table, and they understand that they're going to work with us on it.
Okay. And then I know it's a long process. It's a cumbersome process afterwards. The body cameras you were mentioning about the records reviews and records requests.
A question related to that?
Yeah. I just want to ask one more question, and then for sure. So what is our target? Who owns that? Is there an owner for this one little task, this task?
Well, there was going to be Sergeant Van Ralton, but he is stretched so thin. He's
Okay.
essentially acting as my second in command.
Yeah.
You know, he's working on things with me every day, and he's also the court prosecutor. He's got a lot on his plate.
Okay. So we don't
Key
have...
players are precious thin, so I wouldn't, he was going to do it. I can't ask him.
Okay, so we need an owner for that one. Okay, and we haven't started yet, the procurement process or what have you. We haven't initiated. Okay.
We have a committee, a policy committee. We've collected dozens of policies from other departments. We have the district attorney's model policy, and so we have the data portion of it done. It's a matter of going through and finalizing a policy within the organization and collaboration with the union, and then in the back, that committee will go look at vendors. And what cops do, they reach out to other cops and say, hey, what do you have?
That's what we all do when we're shopping.
Yeah.
You get on Facebook and say, you have a recommendation.
You read the reviews.
A message board like we do for Power School about which plugins really work and which don't. But related to that, I attended a vendor thing about public records law. This is more for written documents, where they have software now where they can automatically redact things for you. And I didn't know if something exists for the video too, if they can automatically redact. And I'm guessing that's expensive, but it could really save staff time too. So.
No, that's an excellent point. So when we look at body-worn camera, there's a lot of key things. First, you have to look at the IT's expectation. They don't want to be managing enormous data servers because the volume of video is going to be vast. So I know from other projects like that software vendor for the accreditation, the IT department preference is that it's cloud storage. So you begin looking at products that can manage that. Then you look at the end user, how rugged is it? Is it reliable? What's the reliability history that for the officer's experience? And then for the person who has to manage the data, the software and its capabilities, its redaction capabilities. We don't really use facial recognition. It's kind of frowned upon these days. So any conversation about a vendor that had that would have to be broached. And so you look at all the things, the specs of the vendors and come up with one, but the redaction of video, our present Cruiser video doesn't have a redaction method, so I'm actually right now trying to figure out how to redact voice out of a video. I worked on it today. So.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. So I don't want to necessarily belabor this. Clearly, there is a ton in front of you, and your department is strapped. So I really appreciate this notion of someone who can help manage that. We had talked, and I wonder if there is an additional need for like temporary project support at a more administrative level too, right? To I don't know, drive some of the data into the policies and procedures. I don't know what it is that would be most helpful, and I know some of it is, much of the work that you do is sensitive work, but I throw that out there as an idea to contemplate.
So the short answer is yes. And I met with and spoke to every sergeant today before coming here. And we were talking about the workload and the need. And it was repeatedly mentioned that we, could use some staff help. For instance, our 440-foot policies are going to have to be loaded into that software, and we're going to have to go find records. That's just in the accreditation part. Our records requests, if you were to look at the records access officer file, HPD does 150 for any one that most departments do. We have volumes of work, and with these special projects, of course, if I could get one to help like that, it would definitely help.
Can you tell me what MPC is?
MPTC?
Yes.
The Municipal Police Training Council.
Okay, and what, is that a separate thing that's going on? You've used that acronym, and I don't know.
So they govern the training for the Commonwealth of Law Enforcement.
So that's part of Sergeant O'Neill's training piece?
He would, exactly. He coordinates with them and makes sure our documentation gets uploaded, and then it's in that portal, which allows the post to go in and see that everybody's met their compliance.
Okay. All right, you have been really patient with me. I had a ton of questions, and I really appreciate that. I have one more I have two more. But this one, are there other aspects of the contract, new initiatives that are part of the contract that we need to focus on and get accomplished that we haven't talked about?
There's growth potential in there. We covered all the hot button topics. For instance, automatic vehicle locators. Everything's been resolved. That's a hot button union topic, and the union has agreed to it. But that's not a this year project.
So I guess I'm asking, are there projects that we haven't initiated or haven't talked about that we need to as part of the new contract?
There's a policy that's in development that has passed its date. We've been working with the union and Director Casey on a drug and substance abuse policy that is with legal now. So we have done the work. Now it's with the union lawyer and town council to review.
Okay, and we're not at risk of not getting that done because the union is cooperating even though we missed the dates?
Yes.
Okay, and where are we, like, is that 90 or 95%? I don't know what a legal review...
We won't know until we come back from legal, but I'm comfortable with it. Director Casey's comfortable, and the union is comfortable with it.
Okay, so do we have a target date, potentially, of kicking that off?
It's been submitted, and we're waiting for review.
For legal. We're waiting for legal. I see. Okay, I'm happy to ask that question, and not to be a nudge, but I don't know, just in support if that's helpful. The last question I have, for obvious reasons, I think that, not tonight, but I think that your department, the school resource officer, that's currently the school resource officer in the school, might put a presentation together for the community about how that program is structured for Hopkinton, what the guidelines are that are in place, and for me as a social worker, I'm especially interested in hearing about what the policies and procedures are for connecting young people at risk to the services, the trained services and supports that they need. So I was almost thinking that would, if that was amenable to all the folks that I just mentioned, would be nice at the start of the school year. That we could have a conversation about the SRO program and where it's at, and if there are needs that have been identified either by the school or by the police department for that program.
I think I love the idea, and I think that I'm looking for an opportunity to showcase more and more of the different divisions and specialties within the organization.
Okay. I am at long last done, and you have all been really patient, but I'm trying to really, I'm really trying to see the terrain that you're facing and think of ways that we can be supportive and helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Through the chair, thank you all for your time and the opportunity to be here tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks. All right. Chief Doherty's nervous back there after all that. He goes, oh no, what's next? Every time I say Chief Doherty, I expect an older fellow.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. I'd like to start off by informing you that we had firefighter Badette start with us today, and we are fully staffed.
Hey.
Is that our chief position? I'm going to try to get him on the agenda for July 11th to be introduced.
Okay, that's awesome. Great news.
Yep. So I'm going to take a little bit different approach. Being in my position, I'm just trying to keep the department status quo. So I'm just going to tell you about where we're at and where some of the small initiatives we're going to roll out next year. First slide, Ben. The first thing I would really talk about is just a snapshot of call volume for the past year. I pulled some dates just from June 15th, 2022 to June 14th, 2023. During that period, we did 2,647 calls. Our busiest time of day is between 11 a and 1 p, but we're pretty steady from 7 a to 9 p.m. Our busiest day of the week is Friday. And then out of this call volume, 61% of this is for medical responses. Medical responses.
Medical responses. So 61%?
Yes.
Medical responses?
Yep.
Okay. How's that trending?
It's trending up every year.
Up every year.
Yeah. We have, because of the COVID, our data's kind of skewed.
Yeah.
But it's going up every year. If I remove that, it would be going up every year. Yeah. Hopefully it plateaus out once the population starts growing. But, slide 2. This talks about our simultaneous calls. This year, for that period of time, we did 513 double calls. So that's on an average of 1.5 a day. And then our triple calls are climbing. We're up to 109, which is like 2 a week. You'll see like 4, 5, 6, and 7, but like when we get to the 7, that's like a storm or something. That's very uncommon. But 2 and 3 calls are very common. When we experience that type of call volume rapidly, we have trouble meeting the demand sometimes. They're sending the effective response force. So.
To the chair, I like the data. One quick question: do you have average response time as well?
Not on me, but I can print it out for you, sir. Yeah, I can forward it to you. Next slide, please. So next, I'm going to really highlight some of the stuff our men and women have been doing in the department. We've been doing a lot more community risk reduction. We've been trying to prevent calls from happening. Some of the things that we're doing is community CPR. So far this year, we've trained 155 residents in CPR. We offer a CPR class every Tuesday night. There's a small cost associated with this, and that is just to cover the fees for the material. $35.
And how do people sign up?
If you go to our website, there's a phone number. You just call Joyce, and she schedules the date.
Oh, Joyce.
Yep.
Okay.
And we also, if a business or somebody wants to do CPR for their whole business, we'll do a special program just for them.
Great.
We're also rolling out a new part to this program in joint with the Board of Health, that every CPR class we do now is also going to have Narcan administration training.
Awesome.
And I know the Board of Health got a grant for Narcan, so we're actually going to be giving citizens Narcan with every CPR class. The next one is Stop the Bleed classes. This is a grassroots effort because of all the violence nowadays. We've given 6 classes, all at the high school. This is basically to tell people to get involved, how to manage bleeding control until we can arrive. Basically, it focuses on direct pressure, packing wounds, and how to use a tourniquet. So,
it's a little sobering. It's a response to gun violence.
Yeah. So as the year goes on, we plan on running more of these classes. The next big thing we're doing is home safety inspections. This is a little bit different than your typical fire inspection. We're actually going in your homes and trying to look at everything that could create an emergency. This is more geared around our elderly population. We're looking for trip hazards, bathroom safety, walkway safety, signage.
Area rugs, my mother-in-law.
Pardon?
Area rugs.
Yeah. So, yeah. Later on, I'm going to talk about why falls are so important for us, but this program really focuses on fall prevention.
Okay.
Our fire inspectors, they're very busy. So far, they've done 1,129 inspections. And they also oversee a lot of our community risk reduction and stuff. In emergency management, in the near future, we're actually going to have to begin reviewing our CEMP, our Community Emergency Management Plan. Our last one was published in 2020. This actually talks about a lot of our evacuation plans and stuff, but a lot of the people named in this have retired or moved on. So we're working with IT to expand some of our capabilities in our EOC. And I was just at a class the other day, and they offer something called an ICS 402 class for public officials in your role. If you ICS 402, it's a framework designated for senior leaders and officials. If you would like me to get more information for that, it basically explains your role in a disaster and how you would help us.
Well, that makes sense. That would be interesting to get scheduled. Maybe not in the summer because these people are vacationing.
In the
Oh, but
fall.
that would be really interesting. And I'm kidding, whenever it makes sense.
Right. No, I know they were talking about rolling it out, and they were looking for places to host them and stuff, so,
Oh, so like if we had it here, some neighboring towns could come?
yes.
Oh, that would be great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, let us know how we can help.
Yes, ma'am. Last thing I want to talk on one of the programs that we're doing is automatic mutual aid. Right now, the only signed automatic mutual aid program we have is with the town of Ashland. Whenever we strike a first alarm or report a fire smoke in the building, they actually send us an engine automatically. We send them a ladder automatically. Due to our increasing multiple calls, we may have to look at expanding that to some other neighboring communities. One of the other benefits of this is it gets you help on the road faster, and you can actually count their personnel that are responding towards our ISO rating. ISO wants 17 firefighters within the first 8 minutes. That's virtually impossible for us to do at our staffing levels, but by using our neighboring communities, this can actually help lower ISO ratings. And the people that subscribe to an insurance company that uses ISO, this would help lower their homeowners insurance. So I'm going to get into the joint initiatives we're doing with the Board of Health. The big one is the fall clinics. This is important to us because statistically, any elderly person that falls or breaks their hips, their mortality rate goes up big time. So if we can kind of prevent this, it's good for everybody. Just a quick stat. Falls for us, out of that, earlier we talked that EMS calls are 61% of our call volume. In 2021, that was 16% of our responses were for falls. In 2022, it was 18%, and year-to-date, 21% of our responses are for falls. So if we can try to prevent that. Our fall clinics have actually been some of the most successful, well-intended. During this program, you will undergo a fall risk screening, and you get the chance to talk to like physical therapists, eye doctors, podiatry. And the last two kind of combined was we've done one mental health clinic and one nutrition clinic. Our members are just supporting the Board of Health and Youth and Family Services with this one.
Excellent. A lot of good work. Through the chair, one quick question. Do you have any program with the high school students?
Specifically,
training?
That 6 Stop the Bleed class was all done with the junior class. But we do, if they need CPR classes, that kind of stuff we do with that. Like the lifeguards, I know we're doing their CPR program. So.
Thanks.
Was there one before that? Oh, okay. So next thing I'm going to talk about is some of the training initiatives that we've done over the past few months. The first one is well known, the LNG plant, so I'm not really going to talk about that. Let's see. On June 3rd and 4th, we sent 21 firefighters to the Auburn Fire Department training facility. This was over 2 days, and we worked on fire attack, handline advancement, search and rescue, laddering, and pumping operations. For ISO, we're required 20 hours a year at a certified facility. We used to go to the Milford facility, but that has been closed down for structural reasons. So, next one. This is another big exercise that we sent 3 of our technical rescue technicians to. This was a multi-operational period simulating a disaster in a small community. Our guys went there. They had a convoy out. That was part of the assessment. And then when they got there, they were tested with structural collapse, confined space rescue, wide area searches, and shoring and victim removal. It's a very long day for them, and they did a great job. So. Some of the new initiatives that we're going to be rolling out very soon in 2024 is that we actually bought 3 medication pumps. Right now, we do it like, I don't know if you guys watched Squad 51 back in the day with Johnny and Roy, but
Absolutely.
But right now for us to give certain medications, our medics actually have to count the drops out of this. and it's at 2 o'clock in the morning, it can be difficult. There's a lot of math involved, you know. So these new pumps actually have the medications in it. We type in the weight base, blah, 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 and it actually increases the dosing. It's more accurate, and it's safer. And it also increases the number of medications that we can carry. OEMS won't let us carry certain medications without that, so I think it's a win for the citizens. Right next, we're going to be rolling out a fire scene decontamination program. As you well know, we have 2 members, actually 1 member, current member, and 1 retired member being treated for occupational cancer. Sorry. We're trying to figure out ways we can reduce fire scene contamination. We're setting up these kits so when guys come out of the building, we can start washing them. By washing them right on scene, they've noticed that you're losing 85% of the contaminants. We've also bought special face wipes to wipe their faces when they get out. And we've also done the MFA's cancer screening class, skin screening class, and we've upgraded our Plimo vent system, which is the exhaust removal system, through a grant. And then the last thing we're going to do is our ladder truck is our primary truck for all structural fires. We're actually going to make it an advanced life support ladder. We have the equipment in-house, so there is really no costs associated with this project. But what we've noticed is a couple of house fires that we've had, there's been a delay for a mutual aid ambulance to arrive because all the surrounding towns that we use, it's either an ambulance or a fire truck. So by putting this equipment on there, if we pull up and somebody's injured, it gives us more capability. Or if one of the firefighters get injured, it gives us more capability until that ambulance can arrive. Next one. Last thing I got to talk about is our 2 new pumpers that are on order. They begin production in August, and they were slated for delivery in November. And
that's good news.
Yeah. It's a long time waiting. Yeah. We actually got lucky. Most now it's 3 to 4 years out.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got lucky.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Does the board have any questions?
This was really great. It's more just a comment. I really appreciate you offering the Narcan training. And I know a coworker of mine lost a family member recently to a fentanyl overdose, and so I just appreciate you guys doing that. And I think we have fentanyl testing kits in the town hall too that we give away.
That actually comes in the Narcan kit that we're going to be giving out to the citizens.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a combined kit.
Yes. Yeah. The Board of Health did a lot of good work. Simone and them, you got to give them the credit.
Yeah, I was talking with my coworker about it and just how prevalent and much of a problem it really is. So I really appreciate you stepping forward on that.
Yeah, and I think that, Amy, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that people don't necessarily, a lot of people do know how prevalent it is and how easy it is for people, even people who are not regular substance users, to interact with it one time and be in trouble. I know my daughter went to a funeral this week, so a colleague just suddenly was doing well. Had no idea, right? No idea that this person struggled. Don't even know if they did, but suddenly had an overdose and died. So a fatal overdose. And so, and Narcan, just many people may know this, but don't be afraid of Narcan training. It is so easy to use. It's so effective. It saves lives. And I know when I did my Narcan training, talked about opioids, you have a few minutes maybe to decide or understand how a person is experiencing an oncoming overdose. But with fentanyl, it's seconds.
Right.
So to have something that's quick and easy and to be trained, it's like being trained in CPR. Everybody, I say everybody should have it in their backpack in case you need it. You don't ever expect to need it, and know how to use it because it's simple, straightforward, and it saves lives. So that's awesome.
Good to know. Quick few items. So in terms of response time, from top of your head, when we spoke to Chief Miller, he was concerned that certain areas of the town are not reachable within the desired response time. Can you shed some light on that? What's the current state of things?
Currently, the Station 2 project, so we put it out to bid, nobody bid on it. So we have to, I have to reach out with Farrell, town manager, and Liz to try to figure out how do we rebid it. Beryl was going to reach out to the contractors and try to figure out why nobody bid on it. Currently, they think it's too big of a project for like a small construction company, but too small of a project for a big construction company. So maybe it's just a different wording, and then we'll go from there. I can give you some heat maps and show you locations. Right now, we have everybody at headquarters. So to get to some sections of town, it is extended just because of there's no easy way to get north, south, east, west, and some of the scenic roads.
That'll be helpful, but understood. Yeah, hopefully we can resolve that down the road. Another question quickly. I remember Chief Miller had a few asks for resources during budget, and he was able to adjust it to meet the demands. Now that we have a shortage, not him being here, do you feel you need any immediate help on the resource side?
As in men?
Extra hands or any?
Since Chief Miller left, we've reached out to, I had a meeting with all the lieutenants, and we've each took on some extra responsibility. We also have a gentleman from a retired DC firefighter that I have at my disposal. He's actually coming up next week, and he's going to be reviewing like our LNG response plans. Anything that I need from this gentleman, he will help me, like policy procedures, any type of question. Yeah. Yes. And that comes out of our budget.
Thank you.
It's probably similar to what the police chief was asking for.
Okay, right.
Irfan.
Yeah, so I just want to say, so Amy brought up the Narcan training, but I'm very impressed with everything you're doing, things that we don't think of every day, like the ball training, and what a huge impact that actually has. So I commend you for everything that you're doing, and I just ask that if you do need assistance, if you do need additional hands or someone else, that you feel free to reach out to us. We depend on you, and we want to give you the resources to succeed.
Through the chair, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. This was really helpful. I really appreciate your time.
Surveys and for the
thank you for the
service.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the town manager's report.
I want to preface my remarks by thanking both Chief Bennett and Interim Chief Doherty for the effort that they put into these presentations. They took them seriously, spent a lot of time working on them, and got well tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of the town manager report, on the Main Street Corridor project, earlier there was a question or remarks made regarding the end date of the project. You will notice in the memo from Michelle and Dave, they are clarifying and confirming that the substantial completion date is still for this fall, and that Mass DOT is confirming that that's still on schedule.
Okay. What does substantial completion date mean to those of us?
It means that the lanes will be open, striping will be complete, signage will be in place, signals will be working. There is still the additional work that may be required on
poles, right?
moving poles, finishing some of the sidewalk work. Amarillo honestly believes that for the portion of the project that they're responsible for, that they will meet that schedule. It's then the work that we added to the project as a town. As you know, undergrounding is by the town, not
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So undergrounding, so we have undergrounded the utilities, but.
Yes.
But what we didn't necessarily talk about was the timeline for actually completing the connection of those utilities and getting rid of the poles.
And there's a shortage of transformers, it says in the
Exactly.
And what does that mean? I'm sorry. What does that mean that we have a shortage of transformers?
Could take 30.
Supply issues that everyone in construction is facing. Yeah.
Overall, do you think we are tracking, or we need to add any buffer?
Absolutely, I think we'll need additional time. For example, with the transformers, you may recall sometime early this year, we had to assist the project just because get the building that they were moving into fired up. The Eversource team was very concerned that they would not find the appropriate transformer. We were fortunate that at some warehouse where no one is taking anything for Eversource, we found the transformer. Exactly. Yeah, we found the transformer that was needed for that building to be brought up live. What we're now facing is just a general shortage in transformers, and most likely this will delay the schedule.
And do we, I apologize if it's in the memo, do we know how long we think it's going to be delayed?
Eversource has told us that perhaps a 36-week lead time is possible.
But they have been ordered, or?
Yes, they've ordered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just not there.
Huh?
The transformers are just not available.
Just not available. But I mean, did they order them 36 weeks ago, or did they order them, or I guess I'm just curious.
They told us at a meeting on 6/13 that they did order them and that the lead time would be 36 weeks.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, Sean? No. How about you, Irfan?
No, I'm all set.
All righty.
Okay. And then on the PFAS project, the contractor also is asking for an extension of this construction schedule by another 190 days. We're reviewing that. And we'll let the board know at your next meeting the determination on that request.
That's disappointing. But
yeah.
Is that due to supply chain issues for them as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd really like to get that fixed.
Yeah, and then the MWRA discussions with Southborough are somewhat delayed because of the transition in the DPW director role. However, we're still working with Power Corporation to make sure that the scope of work that they provided is complete. For example, Tom Temple, credit to him, he identified key deliverables that we're now asking that they be added to the scope of services. And then, Mass Call Part B grant for $500,000 earmarked for prevention. I want to start by thanking our Youth and Family Services team, Donald Cott-Miller and Lorraine, for having patiently executed Part A and then worked with all of us to apply for Part B. The state has confirmed that Hopkinton qualified for Part B.
Great.
What that means is that we will have about $500,000 divided equally in 2 years to fund programs that prevent and or reduce misuse of substances of first use amongst our youth. And this is a sub-initiative intended for communities, and this is why I'm asking the board to support the town manager executing this contract. This is an initiative that is awarded to communities that have existing capacity. Dawn has confirmed to me we have existing capacity to execute this grant. Secondly, we have the infrastructure to do so. And that infrastructure includes the networking that we've built with some of our surrounding communities. I'll explain in a few seconds why that is important. And then thirdly, we also have proven experience implementing a systematic public health planning process. The key deliverable in the first year is a strategic plan for the participating towns. And also, we have demonstrated our ability to implement a comprehensive set of evidence-based prevention programs, policies, and practices. This links in neatly with the other federal grant that we already have, and will be an extension to some of those prevention programs that we are implementing through HOPE. Why it's important to have the existing infrastructure? This grant requires us to build a partnership with surrounding towns. Minimum of 4 towns will be participating. There could be a concern that what happens if Hopkinton does not identify the partners? I had extensive discussions with the grant program personnel, and they did assure me and demonstrate how the state designed this program with the flexibility that allows towns to come in and come out through the term of the grant without jeopardizing the funds provided through the grant. And so with that, I'm respectfully asking the board to authorize the town manager to execute all the contracts that are required to make these funds available for Community Hopkinton.
Do we need a motion or?
Yes, please.
I would move to authorize the town manager to execute the contract for the Mass Collaborative for Action, Leadership, and Learning Grant.
Second.
All right, by roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Rodebush, yes.
Kyle Manon, yes.
Irfan?
Irfan, yes.
Gail Kramer, yes. And thank you very much. That's amazing. And can I ask for a status, if not today, for the next time, on the safety lamps up outside Legacy Farms?
Legacy Farms. Yep.
Okay. FY24 liaison assignments. Did everybody get a chance to look at those? So I did. I think it's in your packet. I showed you.
It's 115, or well, sorry, 114.15.
Yeah, here it comes. So Amy had selected 10. She got 8. She got 8 of 8 that she picked. So I just put the data in here so you'd see. So Shadow, you got 6 of 7 that you had asked for. Amy got 8 of, she had asked for 10, but 8 of 8. And Irfan, you got top 10. 5 of 6. I did say top 10. So you hit the ball hard. And Mary Jo got 5 of 5 that she asked for. So it worked. I think it worked out pretty well. The question.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Which is, I know we were joking about it,
I think
but
that's the old one, though.
oh, okay.
Yep, keep going. Yep. It's just a different, there we go.
Oh, this one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then let me just quickly check one.
If I may?
Yes.
With the pause, I did speak with Mary Jo. She's happy with the assignments.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I had spoken to her too, but that's awesome.
So my only suggestion was, for the budget advisory team, those meetings, they come up kind of suddenly sometimes, and sometimes they're during the workday. So I thought it would be good to have an alternate person in case, because the budget gets really intense at times, and it's best that one of us is there. So I don't know.
I'm super comfortable with that idea. If you're willing to double up and back up.
Be the alternate.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay.
Awesome. Also, it doesn't hurt anything if both of you are there, because it's not. Does it?
Well, do we have? If we had to post it as a meeting or something?
Do you have to post it if it's 2?
My recommendation always is yes. If 2 board members are meeting on a regular basis on a topic that is before the board,
Yep.
constitute a subcommittee.
So, Amy, I appreciate that you're willing to do that, and hopefully you guys can have a little system to work out.
And next year maybe we can hold it off hours, not during work hours.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Okay,
Yeah, because-
did you have a chance to review?
Work hour is not exactly our hours, right? For Board of Health, I know we were joking, but do you see any conflict? Because my wife is there.
I do not, but
That's the only question. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of instances where an issue can come before both boards. I don't believe that presents a conflict because you are not voting as a liaison to that board. So I think that should be fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and then, did I have another question about it? I wondered if we should have a liaison for the Hopkinton Housing Authority?
Oh,
Do
we not have one?
No, I don't think so. I looked and looked and looked. And also the Freedom Team, maybe.
We had discussed the Freedom Team in the past, but it's not a town.
It's not a
So
town.
maybe
Maybe?
not that,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought I'd ask, since it dropped into my head. But the Housing Authority. I'm happy to add that to my list this year and then sort of explore how that, if that feels right.
It is surprising that we don't. We have some to the other affordable housing board, I think, right?
Yep.
Huh.
So I'm going to add that to my list of follow-ups to make sure we just add it. I'll find my list of follow-ups here somewhere. Here it is. Yep, not that one. All right. Then, just because it falls under liaisons, I wanted to remind, Irfan, let's do liaison reports. How about that? Irfan, do you have any reports, liaison reports?
I do not.
Okay. Amy?
I was just going to note for the public that the Upper Charles Trail Committee survey went out yesterday, and so everyone should please fill that out. I meant to email town staff today, too. I noticed that we had originally added a line at the bottom of the Google survey about if they mentioned any personally identifying information in the comments, that it would be redacted before publication, but it doesn't seem to have made it to the...
Oh, is that, okay. Okay, thank
We
you
did
for
have
pointing
an
that.
issue with the town meeting survey. People were saying pretty angry comments about individuals, and I don't know. Anyway, and then the other, that was the only thing. But I would encourage everybody to take that survey.
Yes, please.
The survey is easily found on the website.
I got an email. Let's see. Is it on the website?
Yeah, I've not checked on the website, but I should report we already, this afternoon, we had about over 50 responses.
Oh, great. It dropped into my view on Facebook, I think, social media.
Yeah, the town must have put it on social media.
The Upper Charles Trail survey.
Oh, it is right on the front page of the website, so there we go.
Great.
Okay.
All right. So it is on the front page of the website. Are we distributing it in hard copy at all to the senior center and other high traffic?
Yes, we're working on that. In fact, Elaine and I just exchanged messages.
Because the power of electronics and communication.
Library and senior center, we said? Is that what?
Library, senior center, fire station, police station, all town facilities, DPW.
What is the deadline for
July 2nd, I think?
Yeah, I think it's July 2nd. Let's check quickly for the public.
And we had
July 2nd, it says.
season the meetings till June 11 or July?
July something, I don't remember what date.
Yeah, I'm just trying to match the dates. making sure.
Oh, and then we are invited to go to the TCMC meeting tomorrow night,
Yes, we're posted for that. If folks are able to support that, I think it's a nice conversation to have with them. They actually apparently did not talk as a board either about the formation of the committee
until after town meeting.
Until for the first time when I was there last week. So I'm, very appreciative of everybody being even reluctantly, some people are reluctantly patient with this process, but we appreciate their patience as this conversation sort of fills out and takes shape and the survey results come in and we know our next steps.
I'll note that I did watch, I couldn't make last week's meeting, I had a conflict, but I did watch it on TV, and then I'll try to go tomorrow. I should be able to go tomorrow.
Great. Then the only other thing during this liaison, I do not have a particular report. But I did do some work, obviously, with the needs of the police department. That was my focus this time. We are reminded that all boards and committees, and this, I was going to ask for the select board to communicate directly to the chairs of their committees. We are reminded that we have to announce that all the meetings that are being recorded are being recorded. It's always nice if they can be recorded for HCAM, for transparency as well, so I always encourage people to make that possible if they can. And then the other thing that we need, I think we need to communicate as, not maybe likely to not every one of our boards, but all boards and commissions and committees that meet have to be a little bit diligent about their minutes and getting them turned around, hopefully approved at the next meeting or at the very latest the second meeting following the meeting that they have, and also posting them to the website. What's the rule?
I'm looking at Elaine, there's a phrase regarding 30 days.
30 days?
Yeah, we changed that at town meeting this year.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So if they don't meet in 30 days, they're going to not.
If you don't meet, it's okay. It's the next meeting.
Okay. All right. So the next meeting or within 30 days. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. So this is a friendly reminder that all boards, committees, and commissions are required to keep minutes and are required to get a vote of approval on them by their committee and are required to make them publicly available on the town website. So here's hoping.
So I thought, even though I think it is the best practice, I didn't think they were required to have them on the town website. That's just the best practice?
We would like everyone to do that.
Yes.
I don't know how they could not be required. They have to be.
all go to the town clerk's office.
Yes.
They can upload them as well.
Yes. So if they go to the town clerk's office, they get to the website.
Right, but I agree, and I think that's what should happen, but I thought that the committees were allowed to, by Mass General Law, keep the records themselves. I could be wrong.
Themselves where?
Wherever the secretary cared to.
That would be new to me.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Or
I think that they can. I think we encourage people to bring them to the town clerk's office, but not everyone does.
They might wait for a records request to do it.
You keep it somewhere, then it's not as transparent to the town.
I don't like it at all, but I don't think that legally we can require them to. Is that as long as they've kept them somewhere? It's just not a good practice.
But
It really should.
OML required them to, couldn't it? Open meeting law.
What is the requirement?
But there are many staff people here who will assist boards and committees with getting the minutes on the website and recording them with the town clerk. So if they have access to staff, they can just send it to someone and we'll take care of it.
And straight to the town clerk. Right?
And in fact, that expectation is consistent with two things that are happening in town. We have a transparency center. We want that information to be available to the public. And secondly, we're investing in Laserfish, which is a
Just scan it right in.
Exactly. It's a superior program that will make all town board meetings minutes easily accessible on the website.
Okay.
Okay, so
maybe we could send a note to chairs.
Yeah, it would be great
the ones that
if
are not doing it.
If we could say, I actually didn't know people weren't sending in minutes. I thought that was a requirement. I thought that was an expectation, and it needs to be, I think.
Sending a reminder is a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And also, you have to read the script at the beginning. You have to let people know you're recording the meeting if you are recording the meeting. And hopefully, most people are also recording the meeting because people really do access the information that way. Okay, so I think that the liaison assignments are fixed, and Vazuda can finalize the list that she keeps, and I'll ask her to add the HHA, and it'll be on my list this year.
And the alternate for budget advisory.
And the alternate for the budget advisory, yes.
Oh, do we move the motion now?
Oh, do we have to move a motion for her? Oh, yeah, thank you.
I move to approve the FY24 liaison assignments as discussed and to make the following appointments. Irfan Nasrullah to the Irvine Todaro Properties Advisory Group, Maria Lafreniere to the Pratt Farm Master Plan Team, Muriel Kramer to the Open Space Preservation Commission to a term expiring June 30, 2026, Shahidul Manan to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board to a term expiring June 30, 2026.
Second. Okay, by roll call vote.
Amy Roberts, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Irfan?
Irfan, yes.
And Muriel Kramer is a yes. The only other thing I wanted to make sure we looked at, I updated, but I cross-hatched out the ones that I recommend getting rid of so people could see them before they disappear. Many of them were mine. I thought the Center School and Emerald School at the bottom could fall off the list because the Permanent Building Committee is undergoing their effort right now. So I recommend that we get rid of the ones that I've crossed out. And then I updated the list above. I think I just added one that Mary Jo had asked for. So my hope is that everybody can look at their items and update this list and the priority that it has for them. And then we can do one or two of them at meetings as we go forward and start crossing them off the list.
I like the idea, and we have homework.
And you have a tiny bit of homework,
Yeah, I think the policy on redaction of the public survey comments, I'd like to just keep that on until we get through this survey, and hopefully we're...
Yeah, did I take it off?
No, you didn't, but I'm just...
Okay, perfect, okay. Yes, okay, I see it. Yeah, I agree. And possibly, I won't take any off that Mary Jo has added on until she's back and able to sort of interact with the conversation and so forth. But I think that she might be interested in the work that the fire department and the senior center and council on aging are doing. So that might be something that can come off as well.
Yep. But otherwise, the ones you crossed out, I think I agree with. We're set with those for now.
Okay, great. Irfan, do you have any on the ones that are crossed out that you had a problem with them going?
No, I can see many others that I think can be crossed out, but we don't even deal with it right now.
Right. So for next meeting, if you can sort of send it directly to me, your updates, and I'll create a new updated list.
And I think we can add a couple if we have.
No, if people have additions, absolutely. No, this isn't meant to.
Live document.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, live document. But I also want to start to manage it a little bit so it's not hanging out there. Okay. I don't think that we have anything else unless somebody knows differently.
I don't think so.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those, by roll call vote, Amy?
Amy Roberts, yes.
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 Muriel Kramer, yes. And for those of us who are here, we apparently have a lot of signing to do. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to